Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life's Legends, a podcast where we talk about the stories that have shaped and guided us through life. This month, I am here with my good friend Nate from college. Say hi.
Hi, that's me.
And this is kind of a different month. This is different than a lot of the months. Usually my guest will bring a story to me. And actually, next month, Nate will be bringing a story to us, chaotic, that I'm currently working my way through right now. But this month is a pick that I had, and so it's a story that means a lot to me. It's one of my 3 favorite stories ever, Gurren Lagann. It's a anime that aired in, I believe, 2011.
Sounds right.
It's a while ago,
yeah.
But it's very, very good. It's, like I said, one of my 3 favorite stories ever. And so I'm very excited to go over that. But first, as I do all the time, let's get to know Nate a little bit. Nate, how old are you?
I am 27.
Nice. Same age as me, which makes sense.
It's
We're
true.
in the same grade. What is your favorite animal?
A good pick for me is a tiger, like a Siberian tiger, big, beautiful animals.
Yeah.
I think they're really cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely very cool.
They're very cool.
Yeah. Mine's a cow, and I don't know what that says about this, but...
I don't know. That's an interesting...
Mine's kind of weird. Nobody ever says cows.
No, I respect that.
Yeah.
But
but...
Tiger's kind of a normie pick, but...
I guess, but I don't know, you explained it very well.
Okay,
Maybe
good.
that's what it is. Anyway, Tiger, great. Nate, what do you do? What's your occupation right now?
So I'm an English teacher. I taught high school English for a while. I teach college classes as an adjunct for English, and I also run some help some internship programs on the side. So I dabble in teaching.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It seems like all around teaching.
Yes. That's kind of where I've landed. Yeah.
Yeah, which is good. Is good. And Nate, what is your dream? This is an open-ended question, and I'm willing to hear any answer you have.
No, that's fine. I would love to be a successful author. I've released a book already. I've had a blog for a while. I'm working on a new book right now. So I'm steadily climbing towards that. But ever since I was young and reading, I wanted to be an author. So I'll go with that.
Nice. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
What you didn't say is the name of that book.
I'll take some free publicity.
Yeah. There's not many listeners, but I have.
I'll double the reader count. Blue Fable on Amazon. You can find it for Kindle or paperback. It's a short novella, kind of modern fantasy novella. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty good. I'm proud of it. And then I've got another one called Heaviest Heart. That's coming probably October if I can get it done. Nice. I'm in the second draft right now. Just finished the cover art doing that. I did that. So that will also be on Amazon. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Blue Fable is good. Blue Fable, I've
read it.
It's very good.
Good.
You've taken a shout out away from me, so now I gotta figure out something else. But that's fine.
Okay.
That's good. But yeah, seriously, definitely go get it on Amazon, Kindle or paperback there.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know you were working on another one, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I got another one coming.
Nice. That's cool. That's awesome. And I've lost my place because I didn't know you were working on another book. What I like to do in these podcasts, just for a little bit, because I only cover one story a month, I like to give an opportunity for myself and usually whoever I'm with to shout out another story that, it doesn't even have to be related, but just a story that they think is really good and they would like the listeners to check out. And so, did you have one that you were going to recommend other than your own, as we've covered?
Yeah, mine's out there. I recently taught Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. If you have not read that book, or have not read that book since high school, I would highly recommend reading that. It's a bit of a nerdy, boring pick, maybe. It's not quite as exciting as what we're going to talk about today, but Frankenstein is probably one of my favorite stories of all time. So nice. I would recommend reading that.
Yeah. I've never read Frankenstein.
Yeah, not a lot of people have.
Yeah, is it
It's-
usually part of like high school curriculum?
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
But I taught it. Most of the students I taught it to hadn't read it. Most of the students I taught it to, or I almost taught it when I was teaching high school. So none of the high school students had ever read it. It's made its rounds in like public education, but I think it's kind of dropped off a little bit. And I think that's personally a shame. I think it's really good, and people should read it. So I think that would be my recommendation.
Nice. That's good. That's good. My recommendation, I've reformed myself. I like to try and keep things in the same categories.
Okay,
so my recommendation is also an anime, but definitely feel free to read the manga. And it's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, specifically Brotherhood, because that follows the manga. Although the other one's good, I have nothing against it. I just finished reading the manga not that long ago, and it is another one of my triangle of favorite stories ever. So it's just definitely worth a read. It's very good. As far as anime goes, even the anime is done incredibly well.
Yeah.
It's the visuals are amazing. Voice acting's great. It's done very well. So that's my shout out. I would definitely encourage people to go do that. It is definitely different than Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it's different. It's not. There's no robots. There's no giant robots.
Sort of. There's kind of, sort of, maybe a robot, maybe, but it's not the same.
Yeah. There's a less robots.
Yeah.
There's less robots?
There's less robots.
Okay, yeah. But it's very good. It's an amazing story. Definitely go check it out.
Definitely, yeah.
And so, normally, I would ask you, what made you choose this story? But I chose this story.
I had no choice.
I
was forced. I was blindfolded and brought into this room.
Yes, forced against your will to be a part of this. And so, I chose this story, like I said, because it is one of my favorite things. And just maybe a little background on that. I first watched this show, actually, when I was in college. I watched it when I was a sophomore in college.
Oh, nice.
That year I got sick. I had mono. I don't know that we knew each other that well at the time. I think I remember
you getting mono. I think that sounds familiar.
I knew we were like around each other, but so I got mono and I had to drop out for a semester.
Yes,
and
I do
very
remember that.
like if you've had like chronic mono, it's very like depressing and kind of like you just feel like heavy. You know what I mean? And so that's the time that I ran into this show.
That's a good time. That's a good time to scoop
right.
this up.
And it really was encouraged me a lot, and it left like an impression on me from that time. And since then, it has done the same thing several other times throughout my life. I've watched it just so happened to rewatch it during times where it's been very encouraging to me. And so I think it means out of these three, I'm going to name the third one because I've said it too many times. Out of the three, this one is the one that I think has impacted my real life the most.
Yeah.
The other two are Full Metal Alchemist and Naruto, both manga.
Yes.
But so out of these three, I think this is the one that has hit me in real life the most. The other two, I think, are great stories, but have hit me less in a real life way and have changed maybe my outlook less.
Yeah. This one hits hard.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this story.
Yeah.
But before we move on, is this your first time watching Gurren Lagann?
No, so I watched it in college as well. I was trying to remember when, and I think it was early junior year, so not too far past
kind of
what you did. I think it was around that time.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it like resurfaced or something around this time that it made me. I forget what actually did. Maybe it went to Netflix and maybe like I saw it on there. I can't remember.
I will out myself very much. I definitely, thinking of it now, I definitely watched a random AMV. Of Gurren Lagann, and that was very much. I didn't really watch a lot of anime growing up.
Yeah,
it was kind of a
that's
late high school, early college kind of experience for me. Yeah. And I remember Sword Art Online. That first arc was like my first anime.
Really?
In freshman year of college, the first one I watched all the from beginning to end. That was
Wow.
before, I think, the...
Someone's gonna make me do that on
Yeah.
this podcast.
I have a soft spot for it, but
That's
only
fine, it's
because it
fine.
was the first.
Listen, that's good. I'm
And, like,
glad.
The very first arc, and beyond that, I
Yes.
really fell off, and I was like,
Yeah.
you know what, never mind. But I
hard
have
agree.
a soft spot
Hard
for the
agree.
first part. So then getting to stuff like Gurren Lagann and Full Metal Alchemist was
Yeah.
around similar times, so
Okay.
I went a long way.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, you got to
There's
start
something.
somewhere.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
You gotta start somewhere, and it is kind of cool, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online's cool. I'm not trying.
It's not, but
The
it is.
the first season is cool.
I like
for
it.
a lot
It's-
of it.
it's charming.
I am into it for anyway.
Yeah.
This is not about Sword Art Online.
Another
it's about
time.
Gurren Lagann.
Yes.
Another time. Yikes. Before we go any further, though,
Yeah.
I do. First of all, I'm surprised that you found it through an AMV. Also, I'm surprised mainly because I'm thinking that's a dangerous way to find out about this show. And so,
Yes.
before we go any further, spoiler warning:
Yes.
if you haven't seen Gurren Lagann, we're just going to talk about it, and so all of the events in it will be spoiled. And there is something in this show that you, at least in my opinion, you don't want to know before you watch it.
Yeah, if you have not been spoiled of it already, again, it's been on for a while, but
It-
it's on Hulu. Go
been
watch
around.
it. It's great.
It's not that hard to find.
Yeah.
But so from this point on,
Yes.
go watch Gurren Lagann and then come back. Even if you have watched it, just go watch it again. It's an amazing show. But so let's just get into it. Let's
Yeah.
get into it.
Yeah, do it.
Generally, I like to start with characters. I think because I think about characters the most, and so I will throw it over to you.
Okay.
Is there anywhere you want to start? Any character you'd like to start with?
Sure.
To jump in. If not, I can
Sure.
jump in too.
There's definitely a lot of characters.
yeah.
And it's a pretty short show, and we can talk about this when we get to it, but it condenses a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot to talk about with some characters and not a lot to talk about with other characters until maybe the very end is really when that conversation opens up. But I feel like you got to start with either Kamina or Simone. So maybe pick one of those between those two.
I'm going to start with Kamina.
Okay, let's do it.
For those of you playing along at home, Kamina is my favorite character ever in anything. I've never seen a character I love
Great.
more than Kamina. I'm not like a figure guy, right?
Sure.
I do have a Kamina.
A Kamina
Like
figure.
little statue thing.
Yeah.
My friend found it. I don't know where he got it, but it's
great.
great. And it's like one of the only figures I have.
That's a good choice.
But
That's a great choice.
I really like Kamina, and I think he even after watching this multiple times has still remained like interesting for me to think about.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I watched it, I feel very Simone-esque.
Yes.
As in like idol worship a little bit, like
This guy's so cool.
yeah, like he's so cool. And
Yeah.
as I've continued to like spend time with the show, I've begun to see like the deficiencies that I think the show actually wants you to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
That he's not this perfect, like this absolute role model, and at times is actually actively doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And I think the show wants you to see that. I think I was blinded by whatever, magic happens there.
Right.
But he's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
As in this job of this role model. I don't know if you have thoughts about Kamina before I continue, but
No, there's lots to talk about with Kamina. I think I share that same experience where the first time there's this cool guy and he does cool things, and that's awesome. But especially with watching it a second time now, it's kind of the more off balance moments with Kamina that I think really hit harder for me. Because he's loud and he's brash and he's abrasive, and that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's why Simone is like, this guy knows everything. He's so cool. He's got it all figured out. I just need to follow him. And then Yeah, just the way he breaks down kind of off to the side where he's like, I don't really have some things figured out, and I'm just kind of shouting my way through life and making it work. I think the one thing, again, we could kind of bounce around here, but the one thing I thought was super interesting was because he wants to go to the surface to find his dad, and when he does, his dad's already dead, right? We don't know how long he's been dead. He just so happens to come across his skeleton, and it doesn't. It has an interesting impact on Kamina.
It certainly does.
Do you want to poke at that a little bit? Because
it almost feels like this should be crippling, right?
Right.
At least to me, it feels like, because this is why he wants to get to the surface. He wants to meet back up with his dad and prove, I'm a man too.
Right.
I made it.
Yeah.
And so he'll never have that opportunity. And he understands that. And I think he immediately acts appropriately. I love that they show him. There's this panel at the end of one of the episodes. It might be episode 3 or somewhere around there.
It happens pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this scene where he they show him crying over this. He is clearly not, this bravado that normally he has isn't there, and he doesn't need to protect it, which I think is a good trait. We can put that in the good comedy column
for sure.
But then he does just get up and go forward.
Yeah.
And I think, at least to me, when I think about this, I think part of this is how he lives. This is how he's always lived. Is his mentality is, let nothing stop you. Let nothing stand in your way. And so even this thing that is huge,
right,
that does emotionally impact him hugely, he'll never be able to prove to his father, I'm a man too. Because it seems like one of his biggest regrets, I am just going off now.
Yeah,
it seems like one of his biggest regrets is, as a kid, not agreeing to go.
Yeah, he's too scared.
Yeah, he feels weak because he said that. And so he'll never be able to show the one guy he wanted to show that. But instead, he immediately shifts it to, I'm still showing him that I'm a man, even if he's not here now.
Right.
In living this way, in fighting the Beastmen, I'm going to show that I am a man.
Yeah.
And in fact, I can push it farther than you did.
Right.
I can go far. Not only can I go to the surface, but I'll survive, and we will take back over. Humans will live back on the surface.
Yeah.
This is his whole mission now.
Right.
And I think that's why it's so important that scene happens at the beginning of the show. Because we need him to not stay in Littner.
Right.
We need him to have enough motivation to want to go and fight the Beastmen, which he has a lot of already.
Right.
But he needs more push in this direction and less mystery about where's Dad. Because if we were worried about where's Dad, we'd probably be exploring a lot more.
Aimlessly wandering. Yeah.
And wandering. But now we have a clear goal. And I think that's important, especially in a show that's this compact. I think from a meta perspective.
Right.
In a show that's this compact, you don't want to aimlessly wander.
You got to get moving.
And in fact, one of my least favorite episodes is episode 4, I think. I think it's episode 4.
Okay.
And it's where we actually meet the Black siblings. I don't dislike the Black siblings at all.
The hot tub spa.
Oh, no. Not even
No,
that
that's
one.
later.
Also, that's maybe my second least favorite episode. But that's later. This is the pink fuzzy guys are they have the gunman that combines.
Oh, yeah, with the several heads.
The bunch of heads. This is if you took that episode out of the show, other than Keaton and the Black siblings introduction, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
It's just this one-off villain of the week thing that they have, and then it goes back.
Yeah,
it goes back to the mission.
There's a bit of, and I do agree that's fully a filler episode. And this show's so interesting because it uses filler episodes really efficiently, even when it has them. But there is a bit of teamwork there where Kamina and Simone learn to combine and work together. But I do agree where it's they could do that at any point.
Right. I just think you could have done that in a different way. And it's fine that I don't have a major complaint with that. I just, out of all of them, it feels the most slow and compact, self-contained to me. That this could have happened. Honestly, we could have even seen it off, just heard about it.
Right.
I never want to advocate for hearing about things instead of actually seeing them, but we could have. But anyway, we're talking about Kamina.
Yeah.
But I even like one of his flaws, I think, I'll go here, is his lack of ability to communicate like well in words. And so some people get him very well because they're able to resonate with him on that level.
Yeah.
Simone gets him very well because he's able to get with him on this level of like nonverbal communication. And in fact, that episode is almost all about this.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Like, Kamina is just hurling rocks at him.
Just angry.
And Simone doesn't know why. He doesn't know what he's even doing.
Yeah.
So even in this instance, obviously, Simone has not gotten on this level that it's
Right.
impossible to get to. Because Kamina's not saying what it is.
No.
Because this is like part of Kamina's like bravado.
Right.
Is that he doesn't have to say it. He wants to not have to say it. Like, men shouldn't have to do this.
Yeah.
And so I think this is actually something that will hinder him
Right.
several times, this being one of them. And actually some people will not like him because of that issue.
Yes.
Or at least have the wrong impression of him at first. A lot of people, it seems, have the wrong impression of him at first. I think even Yoko gets the wrong impression of him immediately.
Yes.
But slowly, as like she becomes to know who he is,
Right.
then is endeared to him. But initially,
Yes.
she's like, this is a moron who's going to get us killed.
Yes.
And he kind of looks like that.
And it's not entirely far off, but
yeah. And he kind of, she's not totally wrong. But I like, but one of the things that actually does, I think, as a strength, I'm using my hands a lot and they can't see that.
Yep.
But one of the things I think it does is a strength that this, like, not communicating.
Yeah.
Or communicating in this way that's very less verbal
Right.
than maybe we would be helpful, is he'll do things like, I think the first episode is a great picture of this. It's one of the very first scenes where they get in trouble, Kamina and the three Doofenshmirtz that were with him.
Right.
Like the original
Oh,
team
yeah.
Gurren, and Simone is there, and they get in trouble and they're standing there, and Kamina's like locked in the stocks there.
Yeah.
And the village chief is like berating them and everything, and an earthquake happens, and everybody goes to run and hide, and Simone is freaking out,
Right.
and Kamina for a minute looks over at him and like doesn't quite understand, and Kamina's standing there like defiantly because nothing can kill you, because he's Kamina.
Yeah.
But then he looks over at Simone and he remembers Simone's parents died in an earthquake. So what Simone is remembering right now is, my parents died like this.
Yeah.
And now he's scared that we're going to die. And what he does is he puts his hands over Simone's shoulders and says, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so this, without ever exchanging that,
Right.
he's able to understand what Simone's thinking and comfort him correctly.
Right.
Because he does, like, there's some kind of, like, level, I don't know if you want to call it, like, a vibe or what.
Sure.
There's some level that he understands, and that scene in particular, to me, tells me that he's not, while he is this brash, loud guy,
Yes.
he's not insensitive.
No.
He cares deeply, especially for Simone. But he's not insensitive, he's just loud.
Yeah.
And very brash, and obviously, I mean, maybe seconds after this moment, we get more of that.
Yes.
When this giant machine falls from the ceiling, and his first thought is to fight it,
Yes.
which is insane. This is another. I'm sorry. I'm jumping around. I'm talking a lot. I'm
No,
jumping around,
again,
but
Kamina has maybe the most, except for maybe Simon, to talk about. So.
So the village chief has the sword, right?
Yes.
The sword that Kamina will take with him, right? And what I love about this, and I don't know if they do this intentionally. I don't know what the production actually was in the story, but what it communicated to me, this image of this sword, is a couple things. First of all, the village chief always has it sheathed. It's never unsheathed when he has it, and he uses it as a stick to beat the people.
Right.
And so the
that's
village
interesting.
chief,
I never thought of that.
If the sword is power, the village chief, which maybe it is, maybe it's not, right?
Sure.
If the sword is supposed to represent like strength for defense, the village chief is blunting it and using it against the people he's protecting.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is not like an like establishment. Well, first of all,
Maybe the show is.
Gurren Lagann is absolutely an anti-establishment show. But like,
We'll talk about that later.
yeah, not even in like a you shouldn't have like policing kind of way.
Right.
But in like there is a good way to use force against even the people that you have to be in charge of, because, kids are kids.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't think anybody like berates him for that. But he uses it in this way. And the second that thing falls from the sky, he is like laying down terrified. And again, I'm fine to say that that's a justified terrified.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's what I would be doing. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm any better. But he's terrified. And the sword's laying there. And Kamen, in the coolest scene I've ever seen, kicks it up, and it like flips around his neck in like the coolest way ever. And he holds it, and the first thing he does with it is unsheath it.
Yeah.
Because Kamina is willing to actually bear fangs against the enemy, whereas the village chief isn't.
Yeah.
He's just going to use it against the people.
Yeah.
He won't use it he won't actually take it out when he needs it. But Kamina does immediately.
Right.
And says like oh my word.
No, in a show of giant robots in space, like this one shot with a katana is
so cool.
One of the best in any show.
Yeah. I think it's out there pretty heavily. Like, I'm sure it's it is like a really cool scene.
It's great.
And like he's doing the speech while he does.
Yeah.
A quick side note.
Do it.
These speeches are ridiculous. If you listen to the words that they're saying, you're like, what? What was that? And I think this is like, I love them because of this.
Yes.
There is sense to them. It's not like they're totally nonsensical.
Right.
They are saying something. It's just they're saying it such like this grandiose way.
Yes.
And they keep doing this. Like even through the end of the series.
Yeah.
They will do. Simone does this last speech even all the way at the end.
Yes.
But this is where it starts, where he takes the sword and he goes, "Who the hell do you think I am?"
Yeah.
He's like, I just love that he's like, people run and hide when they hear the name of Kamina. I'm like, who? Who runs? No one runs and hides. You're unknown.
And I think that's one of the most impressive parts of the show, and maybe the thickest thread through the whole thing is it is kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And they're putting every ounce of, or Kamina specifically is putting every ounce of confidence in this character that he's made up.
Yeah.
That's gonna save the world, right?
Yeah.
And that's, again, we'll get to the themes, but
Yeah.
it's the him that believes in himself.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't necessarily believe in the Kamina that was too scared to go with his dad.
Right.
He believes in the Kamina that's going to pick up that sword and fight a giant robot.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, right? Even if that's stupid and nonsensical, that's what he has to do.
I'm so tempted to divert there, but
yes,
I know
we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Because I know I'm going to come back to that when we talk about the themes.
Yep.
So I won't
It's
do
all
it
right.
now.
I'm jumping ahead.
No, that's good.
Yeah. It's a big part of Kamina's character.
Yeah.
Is brash and loud and just gets mad at the injustices and the lack of responsibility people are taking. And it's an easy thing to do that the chieftain's doing.
Yeah.
And so he knows that he has to take the hard route, and to take that route, he needs to be maybe more than what he possibly can be.
Right.
So he just goes for it, and it's crazy. It's cool.
Oh, he does go for it.
Yeah.
And this is why even later we'll see him get so mad at Father Magin from Adai. It's the same thing. It's almost actually more strict even than his village chief.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Because he is angry. He cannot stand it.
Yes.
When it's like there's no nuance. And I actually think this is a negative of him, that there's no nuance at all with that.
Right.
He's not willing to even for a moment think about why Magin has done this. He said, in his mind, he's like, this is wrong. And so immediately you're the enemy.
Right. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't outright fight him.
No.
And in fact he's confused. And this is why I'm jumping again.
Yeah.
But so at the end of episode 5, Kamina is genuinely confused about why Magin would live the way he lives if he has enough spirit to pilot a gunman. He's like, so, based on the fact that you could pilot this thing, that means that you do have enough spirit to actually activate it, to fight.
Yes.
But you're choosing to do this.
Yes.
And you're choosing to do it this way. And he's genuinely confused about that. And I think Rossio will expand in that avenue, and we can talk about that in a minute. But but I think that's one of the ways that the show is trying to tell you, well, maybe Kamina's not all right here.
Right.
Maybe there's something more to Magin that we didn't quite get out yet.
Right.
Why does he have that fighting spirit?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he should.
It's really interesting that it does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
And that's definitely Rossio's whole thing, and we can talk about him later. But
yeah, Kamina's great.
Kamina's great. And kind of going back to, right, he's mad, he's angry, he struggles to communicate through words. Again, some of the more striking moments for me second time around is in his final episode, right?
Yeah.
Is when he has that conversation with Yoko, and he has kind of a not quite the same kind of conversation, but he starts to communicate a bit more with Simone right before he dies.
Yeah.
But specifically the conversation with Yoko, where he just fully opens up and is like, I'm not this big hero, I'm just doing what I think has to be done.
Yeah.
And again, he's like, Simone is the guy who just keeps churning and keeps going.
Yeah.
And I use that to give me fuel.
Yeah.
And he doesn't quite get there to tell Simone in time that that's the case.
Yeah.
Not fully.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, do it.
If you can. First of all, I think the reason he can say this to Yoko is because there's something about the fact that she's a woman that is different. He wants Simone to understand this on some level that's like, as a man, you should have it. You should understand. We don't have to communicate with words because we're men.
Right.
But he doesn't play by those same rules all the time with Yoko.
Yes.
And so I think maybe that softens that exterior of, I don't talk about this.
Right. No, I think that's fair.
But this goes back to the story, and I mean, like, obviously that moment where they have, and he says, like, Simone's the one.
Yeah.
That can do it.
Yeah.
I adore the fact, and at first, when I first watched this again, I didn't quite grab this as much as I did later, but I love the fact that Kamina all the time, from the jump, is not confused about who the main character of this story is.
Yeah.
From the jump, he's like, Simone is the one that can do it.
Yes.
He always says, your drill is the drill that will pierce the heavens.
Yeah.
He never says he's going to do it. And the reason is because he is fully aware that it's Simone that actually has that strength.
Right.
And
that fighting spirit.
Yeah. Simone has that fighting spirit. And he has, like, suppressed, like, as a kid.
Right.
That he's not coming to his own. But when he does, Kamina is positive, this is the guy that's going to change the world.
Yeah.
And so he has decided to be, like, the fire for that change.
Yeah.
And guide him, and try to help guide him. And so I think this comes out in, obviously, that moment, and even in the story that we get twice, because we get Simone saying one story about a time that they were stuck underground.
Yes.
And Simone was like, he kept saying we're going to make it, and that encouraged me to keep drilling.
Yeah.
And we get another story from when Yoko retells it from Kamina telling her that in that same situation, it was the fact that Simone kept drilling that inspired him to keep up that bravado, that inspired Simone to keep drilling. And and we'll probably get, we'll talk about that too, later, probably in the same conversation we talk about believing in people. But there's, like, this reciprocity here between, like, them encouraging each other in their own way.
Right.
That is so cool, I think. It's cool because he is literally all talk. He quite literally is all talk. And yet, he's still so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
One of my favorite things in the show is because the humans are really submissive to the Beastmen, right? They're living underground and that's it. And even the rebels are fighting back, but not doing too much.
Yeah, they're really trying to survive. At the beginning. Yeah,
and Kamina gets to the surface and is like, "I'm going to capture." A giant robot.
Right.
And everyone's like, I've never even considered that before.
I've never even thought it was possible.
Yeah, but and like Simone finds his own little head that he has, his own little robot. And Kamina's like, this is going to work. I'm going to get one too, and we're just going to break everything apart. It's going to be great. And it's cool.
It does work.
Yeah, and it works.
That's just crazy. And he does, and that's why he's a good leader of Team Daiguren. Like for as long as he's alive, it's because it's his ability to like think that way.
Yeah.
Think in a way that is bigger than anyone else seems to be able to think.
Yes.
Including Simone. I mean, at that time at least.
Yeah.
Simone
for sure.
does not think that big. I am jumping way further ahead.
Yeah.
But in the dream sequence that they have in the second to last episode.
Simone, I'm there.
Kamina's there. This is still attached.
Yeah.
There's questions about that, but I don't need to answer them.
Sure. It's cool. I'll say that. It's cool. He's there.
But in Simone's like dream, his like the stasis he's put in, he's still with Kamina, and they're like thieves.
Right.
They're like he's like still just drilling to get into different jewelry. They're still living underground. They're still thieves. And he's fine to stay there.
Right.
And I think that shows there's some like part that is fine to just be content and safe.
Right.
Instead of this out like pushing the boundaries out, which is what he comes in to recognize as what he needs to do.
Right.
And definitely fully adopts that at the end. But I think that the dream sequence flashes back to this like somewhere in there, it is still scary. What we're doing is still terrifying.
Yes.
And it would be easier if we just never made it up to the surface.
Yep.
If we just, found another way, like we're in another underground city, like it would be easier if we could just go back to that. Bro would be alive. Mm-hmm. Like, and so I think that Kamina's constant pushing to know where you ought to be instead of where you are is why he's a great leader of
right.
Team
No matter
Gurren.
how hard it is.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because no matter what, he can do it, and he knows Simone can do it.
Yeah.
He's sure Simone can do it.
Right.
Even if he's not sure he can do it. And so he's able to be that bravado.
Yeah.
Even when Simone is scared. And he's scared in reality.
Yes.
But he's able to push past it because he's like, I know we can do it, but he's got to be on board. Mm-hmm. I got to get Simone on board with this. But
yeah,
I love Kamina.
It's
that last, and even when he comes back in that sequence,
right?
So I interpret this, and
go for it. I have an idea too.
Who the heck knows what's happening? There is a point. There's like a certain point. It's almost as soon as the anti-spiral shows up.
Yes,
I have lost what we're doing. I'm not sure anyone knows what we're doing.
Right.
He said there's a line that's like, we're in between the 10th and 11th dimensions, and I was like, I'm out.
Yep.
I don't know what this is, and no one knows what this is.
Right.
This is made up. This is gobbledygook. This doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And that's fine. This is the nature of the show anyway, so it's not like it's ruining that. But anyway, wow, that was a detour.
No,
I interpret when he shows back up, I interpret that as genuinely Kamina's soul.
Okay.
Like his spirit is back. And the reason I interpret it that way is because we see the other guys who have died come out of one of the canisters.
Yeah.
And it seems to me as if they're back, like in this kind of like dream state way.
Right.
They're back. And I'm willing to think that Simone conjured them in his own mind too.
Right.
That's fine too. I'm fine with that answer.
Sure.
It just seems like he does such the opposite thing that the anti-spiral wants to happen.
Yes.
That this feels like it's come from outside this sequence.
Right.
But in that, all the way back to Kamina as a character. In that, when when the real Kamina shows up, and you see this difference between Kamina standing on the canister, up, he's got the cape flowing, and the other one is down, like, groveling.
Yeah.
You immediately, as the viewer, you're like, Kamina would never do that.
Yeah.
Like, immediately, and then he says to Simon's like, wait, there's two of you, and he says, which one do you want to be real?
Right.
Because we all know which one is real. And, like, because it's not a question for... Simone knows which one's real. And so this is a choice then he can make between comfort, between safety.
Yes.
And what he knows he can reach for and needs to reach for. And clear... I see, like, uppercuts and then I think punches down into the ground, the fake Kamina.
Yeah,
like
something like that. Yeah.
He, like Kamina has encouraged him again, has pushed him one final time.
Right.
But in that push is so different from the earlier ones because he has not given Simone anything. Where before he would say, your drill's the drill that's going to pierce the heavens. Believe in the me that believes in you.
Right.
Before, when he was saying these things, what he says this time is, which one do you think is real?
Oh, yeah.
And he says, who? What is your drill for? As Simone holds the drill.
Yes.
He doesn't tell him this time because Simone knows it now.
Yeah.
And so all he's doing is reminding Simone of what he already knows. He doesn't have to tell him again.
Right.
Because Simone's finally come into that. He's taken the mantle. And now I'm talking about Simone.
Yeah.
But this is like Kamina pushing in like the genius way I think that he pushes. Is that he is if this is really Kamina and not just Simone's dream.
Right.
But he's determined that that the push that I need now isn't really even a push so much as it is a pointing to where the right path is.
Right.
And Simone is good enough now. He's strong enough now to know.
Yeah. And if
like
nothing else, I'll jump on this wagon
please.
too.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Nothing else, because I think that would be the interpretation that I would like the most.
Sure. Yeah.
If nothing else, then the team, right? Team Daiguren.
Yeah.
The anti-spiral gets them in a dream that makes them comfortable, right? It's the easy way out. And if nothing else,
are very sad, by the way.
Yes, very much
One
so.
of them in particular.
Yep.
Anyway, we're not at him yet.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think it's so integrated into everyone that Kamina's brash, just do the hard thing and get mad and punch down the walls until there are no more walls, right? Just is the heartbeat of the team that shows up and is like, you know why we fight, and you know that this is the easy way out, and you know what Kamina would think, so get back out there and do what you need to do. And then, I don't want to get into other characters, I guess, too quick. But.
I think maybe in summary of my Kamina thoughts, at least.
Yeah,
I mean, you can feel free to keep going if you want, but in summary of my Kamina thoughts, he's so... While he's not the main character of this show...
Yeah.
He is so integral to every other piece of the show that he almost like he's like right there in importance with Simone.
Yes.
Because everyone, minus Lord Genome, I'm going to take Lord Genome out. Minus Lord Genome.
Sure.
Every other character is directly affected by Kamina.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Because even if I think about Viral, who we've been dancing around for a minute.
Yeah.
Even if I think about Viral, the reason Viral's here is because of the fire that Kamina put in him.
Yeah.
And it's not like, obviously they were not friends. Like they weren't friends, but this rivalry. Yeah. This rivalry and a equal opponent thing that he brought to Viral has ends up brings Viral all the way across to help them.
Yeah.
Towards in the second half of the show.
Right.
And I just think that he is like the fire starter for all of the characters in this series for them to then carry that torch.
Yeah.
I said except Lord Genome because I do not think they ever meet.
No, I don't think
I
they
don't think they ever see each other. So I don't like.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to, and like you could say like, okay, well through Simone, but
Sure.
whatever. But yeah, he's so integral to the story.
Yeah.
And brings the heart of this story so clearly to the front so quickly.
Yeah. And I think maybe the last thing we can talk about with Kamina is just his absence.
Yeah.
When he dies, it's sad and dramatic.
Yeah.
But the episode after that, with Kamina's absence, right, is one of the most powerful things I think the show really nails.
Yeah.
And you as an audience feels like there's something big missing here. Like, this is not quite the same show anymore now that Kamen is gone.
Right.
It's very, very potent.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're right, where he did his job, he got the fire started, and then it takes them a bit to like re-engulf that flame and carry on in his honor. But it's so much when he dies. It's great.
I'm really contemplating just moving on.
Yeah, we can move on to.
I have just a little throw-in bone here at the end.
Yeah.
In favor of my, it's really the spirit of Kamina that came back in the dream.
Yep.
The last thing Kamina says before he dies is "later, buddy."
Yeah.
He like whispers to Simone, "Later, buddy," and then dies. And what that Kamina says as Simone goes off is, "Get going, buddy."
Oh, cool.
And this just like one, it illustrates the point I think I was making before of like Kamina is now aware that Simone doesn't need him.
Right.
That Simone is now like, he's like, I've released you, like, get going.
Yep.
Whereas before he was like there's like some kind of like unfinished business about the later buddy.
Yeah.
That happens there.
Oof.
And so,
it's getting me choked up thinking about it. It's really good.
First of all, I used to be tough. I used to, like, internally.
Yeah.
I'm very squishy on the outside, but on the inside, I used to be much harder. I can't like watch things anymore. I like get emotional about things now.
Yeah.
I hate this. I don't know if it's because I'm married for like 5 years. I don't know. Something happened. I don't know. But I think I cried like 3 times in this show.
Okay.
Or like this watch through. Anyway. Yeah. Kamen is awesome.
Yeah. No, again, this show hits hard, and Kamina is the main drive for the whole thing. So
yeah, and he's really cool. And he's very important because of that.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about Simone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're already here.
We're there,
and we've touched on that a good amount. In the Kamina.
Again, Kamina is so integrated into Simone's character that it makes sense.
So to piggyback kind of then on the Kamina conversation almost, one of the things that I think the show is trying to tell us about Simone is that, especially in the second half, when he's like fully come into his own, right? Is that Simone is very similar to Kamina in a lot of ways.
Yes.
He takes the same kind of position and mantle, but Simone is just a little bit better. He's just a little bit more adjusted. He's just a little bit better at being a leader.
Right,
than
more
Kamina
capable.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I think the show explicitly tells us this, I'm gonna go back to this dream thing. Did you notice this? Kamina there. So like Simone's a kid in the dream sequence for a lot of the time, and then like at the end when the clouds part, he like is an adult now.
Yeah.
And they talk to each other eye to eye now.
Yeah.
Which is great because now I'm eye level with Kamina.
Yes.
But then it pans out and you see that Simone's a little taller than Kamina.
Yeah.
And Kamina comments. He says,
he does.
"When did you get taller than me?"
Oh.
And it's like a joke thing, but I am nearly positive what the show is trying to tell you at that point is he's just a little bit better.
No, absolutely. I think 100%. that
they're eye to eye.
Yeah.
But he's just he's grown a little bit further.
Yeah.
Past.
And what's really cool is, like, again, that's what Kamina's been saying this whole time.
Yeah.
You are better than me. You will get to this big, important place. And that dream sequence, it's like, now you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just finish it off, right?
Yeah.
Get going, finish it off.
Yeah.
But you're there, and that's cool.
Yeah, and that's like I think the clearest, like, clearly, like, it almost feels like they're like flashing lights in your eyes, like, hey, did you get it yet?
Do you see how these themes
right.
wrap up here? It's great.
Which I really like. But honestly, so as I've experienced this show, I've gone through multiple different, like, relating to different characters. I would say the three I relate with the most are, oddly enough, Kamina, Simone, and Rossiu. And we can talk about Rossiu in a minute.
For sure.
But this past time, ironically, I actually related more to Kamina, and it's maybe one of the first times that I really felt that kind of relation. Before, I felt more like this is like the coolest guy ever.
Yes.
I wish I could be like this, and now I've seen hints of that. Like I related hints of that to my own life. But historically, I've always felt more like Simone. I've always related a little bit more to him. Especially at the beginning, I think a lot of his actions are understandable given the circumstances. And so and he's a kid. He's a young kid.
Yeah.
In this insane world.
Yeah.
Who does have this, near limitless potential. But he doesn't know that, and he's not able to, like, use that immediately, you know? So I just, that thing that's telling him he's fine to just keep digging tunnels in Jiha Village, to just keep doing that and living his life down there, and, like, he finds, like, a cool thing every once in a while, and he's like really into it, and that's like that thing is very relatable. In this, like, I think I can kind of crave that. I get why he's craving that stability and that safety there, because he knows that, even if it's not that great. Like, I'm covered in dirt all the time. I don't love living underground. My parents were killed by an earthquake.
Yes.
All of that, he knows it. He knows how to live there, and there's a safety there. He can't help but be drawn to Kamina.
Yes.
Because in reality, he knows what he ought to do. But there is, like, a comfort there that I can get.
Yeah.
And so all the time, every time he, like, runs away or, like, is scared of an enemy, I'm like, I get that. This is terrifying. I could get why this would be terrifying. I'm talking too much. What do you like?
That's all right. Again,
Simone,
the main character of the show, just hands down, and it really is a very effective and honest coming of age story, where, you know, again, the whole drive of the show is fighting spirit, and we'll talk about that later, right? Yeah. Kind of confidence in the brashness in yourself. What is going to hinder that the most in a person? And I'm sure there's lots of different answers, but in this particular way they're exploring it, it's Simone, and he is he has no self-esteem, he has no self-worth. He is confused and scared, and Kamina is part of the piece to push him past that. He's not the whole piece. And just the way that progresses throughout the show is really interesting. I think, again, he gets... we could talk about Yoko. I think this is maybe her best role her main role in the show is it's coming of age. You have this. Well,
actually, I would like to say I know what her main role in the show is.
Well, yes.
From a meta perspective.
From a thematic perspective. Sure. I don't really believe in the, she has to breathe through her skin, so she must wear a bikini. It's for the plot.
Makes no sense at all.
Stuff like that, and that's not the case for Yoko explicitly. They don't try and give it a reason, but and there's lots to talk about with Yoko, but her main cog in the story, is there's this really attractive woman who is around me all the time and does all these cool things, and that is distracting, and how do I deal with these emotions? right? Just another kind of roadblock in Simone's way of how do I handle all of this emotion and just do the fighting spirit thing, right? Do the drill power. So it's a mess.
It's a mess.
That's like the show's like it is a mess, and it's hard to figure out.
Yeah, and it is a mess. And I think one of the things is incredibly relatable. I don't know if it's relatable to you or not, but I think a lot of people probably could relate with this. Is the moment like that moment where they're before the battle, and Kamen and Yoko kiss.
Yeah,
and he sees this, and it's like, first of all, I adore his reaction when he sprints away.
None of my business.
Which is fine. Yeah. It's none of my business. It's not. He's like chanting it to himself.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta get this out of my head. I can't think. But if you've been in a situation like that, or you've been in that kind of thing, you'll know it is impossible to get that out of your head. Yeah. It won't happen. And it's not. What I like about the show is it doesn't. And Simone as a character is not one time does he blame anyone but himself for thinking wrongly that way.
Right.
Because like he doesn't ever think, oh, Yoko like led me on or anything.
Right.
Not for a second. Right. He's like, I completely misunderstood.
Yep.
What was happening.
Yep.
And like he like in that moment he gets it. And so now he's like, I gotta forget it. I gotta get this out of my head.
Yep.
And what a mistake that is. Mm-hmm. But then this will lead to I love that it's then tied to Kamina dying.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't work. And, you know, you can say, could things have happened the same way? Maybe. It's not, because Kamina does manage to get Simone back up, and they do take over Daigunzan.
Yes.
Before Kamina gets injured at all.
Right.
And so, like, you could say maybe it happens anyway. But it's definitely, Simone definitely feels from this point on that it's my fault that Bro died.
Yes.
Because when I needed to be strongest the most, I let this stupid thing distract me. Mm-hmm. And that is very relatable as a coming of age thought. Like,
yes,
that is incredibly relatable. I can't think of a specific situation I've been in, but I get the feeling. I can feel it.
You get the notion. Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely understand that. There's things that, like, you know, as a kid you do. I even think about, like, I'm trying to remember, like, when I was a kid and I was even in, like, high school, maybe early high school or something, and, like, how it felt like everything was, like, vitally important.
Yes.
It was, like, life or death. Every little thing was life or death. And then you grow up and you're like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't even close.
Right.
That worst case scenario could have happened, like, 5 times, and it wouldn't have been that bad.
Yes.
Like, you understand that later, but Simone's 14. He doesn't understand it. Like, this is where he is. And so now he's faced with this terrible reality of Bro's dead, and it's my fault.
Yeah.
I should have been able to do this. I'd done it before. This was the plan, and I was the linchpin, and I failed because I was focused on this that I shouldn't have even thought about in the first place, which he seems to understand immediately.
Right.
But it's just very, like, I can feel it. You know what I mean? Like, I can feel that emotion, and it's very relatable.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about that coming of age kind of thing. I really like some of them.
And it's, again, kind of going back a little bit to Kamina.
Yeah.
Where he's like, Simone's messing up. He can't figure it out. Kamina's like, I can't talk to him. I need to get to him. Let me see you grit those teeth. Another great scene where he, like, hops out of his robot and punches him in the face.
If I haven't outed myself already. That's one of my favorites. I love that scene.
Yes.
And I love what it does with it later, but we are not on him yet. So we'll get there later. Yep. But
and
I'm sorry.
Again, like, Kamen is like, you're losing faith in yourself, and I know that you absolutely need to have faith in yourself, and I know you can't have faith in yourself. So I'm just gonna smack you around until you understand. and that it gets them enough over the line to make that work. But
just love how Simone like pinballs around in the inside of Lagann too. Like he's all the way upside down after that punch.
No,
like he's like, what is going on? And I love what I again. This shows, I think, kind of small on a small level, but it shows that Simone is not. There's no like animosity here.
Right.
Simone is not like angry at anyone.
Right.
Other than maybe himself a little bit.
Yes.
But, like, he's not angry at Comet. Comet comes and can cheer him up, of course, like always.
Yeah.
Because that was always what the relationship he does understand, at least. Yeah, it just illustrates that Simone handles it, I think, better than a lot of people handle these situations in real life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But, yeah, I love that this is, again... going, not that we haven't talked about Comet enough, but this is going again to that thought of this this like very low verbal communication of like spirit from one person to another that Comet like fully endorses that he uses there, and it works again.
Yeah.
It because they are able to understand each other like that.
Yeah.
And I love the and I think you actually already mentioned it, the episode after Kamina dies.
Right.
And I actually think the next 2 episodes.
It's for a while. It really
it's for a
sits
long
around.
time.
Yeah.
But I think it is the next 2 episodes he's fully depressed, and then I think in the third one he comes back.
Yes.
But him in that state is I think they portray it so well. Mm-hmm. Just this, like... It's just interesting, because I think a lot of shows would say what they would do with him is, like, he's curled up in his room, and he's not coming out, he's not, like, eating or anything, which they do a little bit of. But the first thing he does is he keeps fighting. He keeps wanting to go out and always go out and fight.
Yes.
Because now, to kind of stave off the guilt of I killed my bro, he has to finish this mission. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, why did bro die? Like, I can't have it stay there. And so he kind of like pushes past to a level that's extremely unhealthy. It's clearly unhealthy.
Yes.
Everyone knows that. And even, like, Keaton, like, corners him in the hallway at one point and is yelling at him about that. And he just, like, sulks it off. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And not to divert this, but then I love, he goes, like, Rossou's there, and Dayak, I think, is there, too. And they're all, like, standing in the hallway, and Simone's walking past to go, like, get something to eat or something. And he, like, turns to Rossou, and he's like... Your gods killed bro, like he like
out of nowhere,
out of nowhere, and this is so stunning, because Simone has never berated Rossou for this. Kamina has not been so nice about it. Kamina is like, this is dumb, but Simone never said that. Simone always respects Rossou. He always lets Rossou do what he's gonna do, and Rossou doesn't like. Rossou knows it's not real too. He doesn't still like follow that. But it's an important part of his like upbringing, and it would be reasonable to assume that in that situation you feel a little guilty about having lived that way for so long, thinking that, so like, and being as devoted to that as Rossou was, and so like Simone, it feels like, is trying to jab him, which is so uncharacteristic of who Simone is. And we can talk about how Rossou responds to that later. And Dayaka, I think, like, says, like, holy cow, you want to calm down about that?
Chill.
And then Simone, like, apologizes, like, does the whatever, like, sorry, and then, like, slinks off. Because he doesn't really mean it. And we all understand that he doesn't actually want, like, he doesn't want to hurt Rossou. But this like showing of this depression is so good. It's such a great depiction.
It's really ugly and really it's really real.
Yeah, it's not good.
No,
it's real.
But it's like really effectively ugly, and you really feel, because again, the audience is kind of going through it too. And they're like, this main character is dead. Wow. And Simone has a lot to do to kind of crawl out of that. So yeah.
I can't help it. I'm gonna have to bring her in.
Yes, Nia. It's time for Nia.
I have always, and probably will always, adore Nia.
Yeah. Arguably the best character, even with Kamina in the picture. I don't know.
Really?
Kamina is,
We're not there yet.
is number
who
one.
Your favorite character is later.
Yeah,
I've already spoiled mine. I already said mine. Never mind.
We can break it down later. But Nia is incredible.
I'm so glad you think so, because I'm always worried when I talk to people about this that they're going to be like, what? Because I really do think that Nia is almost as important as Kamina.
No, absolutely.
Because they serve, and I was trying to like get a pulse on this last time I was watching. They serve such a similar role for Simone.
Absolutely.
And they do it in such different ways.
Yes, this is what Kamina could never have done.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
This was the other piece. This was the other piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what's so amazing about Nia. It's the perfect time.
Yeah.
For her to be included, and it is exactly the thing that Kamina never could have done for Simone. And I think What do you have to say about Nia? What do you think about Nia?
Nia's great. It's really interesting. We could talk about the media, but I don't know if you've noticed this. The episode titles.
Yeah.
The first 5 are quotes from Kamina, and then
you're gonna blow my mind right now.
The next 5 are quotes from Nia. Those are the episode titles, and then it's 5 from Rocio, and then it's 5 from Simone. It's really cool.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and this is why this is unacceptable that I didn't notice this.
I don't know if there's exactly 20 episodes. It's something like that.
It's 27 episodes.
27.
And it's probably pretty close.
It's something like that.
Up until Kamina's death, it's definitely Kamina Quinn.
Yeah.
And here's how this is why it's unacceptable. Because the fonts on the title cards are clearly the fonts of the characters.
I didn't notice it until somebody else pointed it out to me.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better, but still not much. I should have known that. Wow. I mean, I knew they were quotes from the episode, so I was always kind of like looking for them in the episode, but that's really,
So it's Nia's time.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's her role.
That breaks down perfectly.
It's great.
Yeah,
no,
but
she just the fact that she is the polar opposite of Kamina, where suddenly there's this quiet, meek, careful voice of reason that is kind of poking through, and some of it's pretty harsh reason, right? Yeah. I love the moment where she's like, I don't know who this bro guy was, but you've got to move on.
Yeah.
And that's like, as the audience, you're like, no, you can't forget Kamina. He's the whole reason we're here. But at the same time, you know she's right.
Yeah.
Because there's no bringing him back. There's nothing of that. It's just forget about bro to some extent at least. And, fight for him, but you got to move on. Yeah.
One of the things I think she does and so well to do that is she's like genuinely interested. And so like she hears that this guy talks about all this time.
Yeah.
And she can feel almost, and you would feel, I think, if you were in that environment.
Yeah.
You would feel this massive hole.
Yes.
That has opened up in this team.
Yeah, for everybody.
And so you would know, you could feel that. And especially Consensus and Simone. And one of the times where I really liked it, first of all, this shows the depth of Simone, depression, and an interesting Nia thing is like where Simone is carved like 20 busts in his room. It's too much. But clearly it's supposed to be too much. Yes. That's not a mystery. And I think that might actually even be where she ends up saying what you were talking about.
Right.
But when she goes in there, she's like, I can tell just from looking at these that your bro was like a great guy.
Yeah.
And like her like acknowledgments of like, she doesn't just, because I'm thinking like, okay, what does Kamina do in this situation? He refuses to talk about it and he just keeps pushing. And that might be limited, that might be effective, but I would argue it's not the most effective, especially for Simone, because what gets him there is Nia being both like, he does sound like a great person. He does sound like this incredible guy. But you have to move on. He's gone.
Yeah.
And there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And that's harsh, but it's given in a way that doesn't feel as harsh. And I think part of this is it's especially not harsh for Simone, but it seems like it cuts even harsher for Yoko when Nia says it.
Yeah.
And they don't get along at first.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, they're not like best, but there's like the beach episode where they're like faux not getting along, and I'm not willing to acknowledge the beach episode of any anime is necessary, but it's there.
Yeah.
And that feels like mostly like a gag that they're doing, but it is part of this, like they're not like they're not compatible in this way, and I could get why for Simone this would be effective and for Yoko it wouldn't be, because Simone has this level of like, this is a pretty girl.
Well, yes, that helps too.
And this is from the jump.
Yes.
From the opening of the box, it's like you can tell, you can see it on his face. You're like, okay, so we're doing this again. And he's learned from his other issues.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is interesting, not like super important, but I think interesting, is you can tell from his that he has learned from this understanding of where people are, because later when he like has proposed and she says no, because she doesn't understand, like she doesn't like, and like that's a very like funny Nia thing to do, but he like seems to just let her go.
Yes.
And like it's not,
he's like, well,
he's clearly not. He clearly understands that she probably just hasn't understood.
Right.
It seems like that's clear.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's just like, I think this shows a little bit of this like coming to understand we need to like actually clear these thoughts first.
Right.
Before they become like, before I think something is like totally real. And I think that that's good and healthy, and Kamina needs to do that. But doesn't.
Yeah.
And so really all of them should do it, but certainly Kamina. But like, anyway, all the way back to Nia is amazing.
Yeah.
I just, the role that she's able to serve in that time, and for those 5 or so episodes where the quotes are her quotes.
Yeah.
Is so like, she just provides exactly what he needs.
Yeah, it's really cool. And again, just kind of, I like the fact that she's not just there for Simone, but she has a good character in of herself.
Yeah.
She has this really interesting arc where she comes to understand that, her father, Lord Genome, was her whole world. And so she just accepted that he was a good man.
Yeah.
And now that she was literally thrown into the garbage,
Yeah, right. Quite literally, yeah.
Quite literally. And is seeing the effects of the Beastman, that she has to challenge her worldview and kind of rethink the way she interacts with everyone. Because she has this, she's curious, and she sees the Gurren team, and she's like, these are good people.
Yeah.
Let's think about this, right? What's going on here? And it's cool to kind of see her small arc. She doesn't really have too much of an arc in the second part of the series, just because she does the whole anti-spiral thing.
Right.
She has a bit. She has a bit, but she's mostly gone.
Yeah.
But I really like just her presence.
Still doesn't give up though.
No, and that's it's cool. It's great. Kind of jumping to the second half. Again, she doesn't have much, but the point where Simone, when she's like they're taunting him, I think it's in the prison, and Simone's like, well, why do you still, if humanity is useless and Nia is gone, then why are you still wearing the ring that I gave you? And it's this big kind of moment for her, is like, oh, I'm still here and there's still hope and all of that. So
it starts breaking. Their hold starts breaking.
Right.
And
so I like Nia a lot. She's great.
And this reminds me of a Simone thing.
Yeah.
Another way that we can tell is by the second half that he's genuinely grown and genuinely is just a good person, like is a great guy and a good leader, is that moment when he's in prison, and Rossi, the ship has taken off, and Simone is under the impression. This is before Nia comes. Like, he's seeing the moon's gonna fall, the ship's taking off, and Simone is under the impression that Rossi has gotten everybody underground, and everybody else he's taken on the ship, and he's gotten away.
Right.
So Simone is sitting in prison. He's like, we're gonna die because we're on the surface, but we're prisoners, and I was gonna die anyway.
Right.
But he's like genuinely proud. Like, he says something like, "Oh, good, he did it."
Yeah. Yes.
Because he genuinely thinks, okay, Rossi was able to save everyone. Mm-hmm. This is good. This is fine. If this is the answer, and he saved everyone, that's great. And he's like, for a moment, genuinely proud, even though it is clearly not his way.
No.
It's not the way he would do it. It's not the way he would ever do it. But he's like, if that worked, that's good. And because it doesn't, I'm willing to overlook my way, another way that he might be different than Kamina.
Right.
I'm willing to overlook the way that I think we have to do this, as long as it saves people, as long as we really have done it.
Yeah.
And that breaks immediately when Nia comes down and says, no, everybody that's on the surface is going to die, whether they're underground or not.
And everybody up there is going to die too.
And also everybody up there. So
everybody's going to die.
He saved no one.
Yeah.
And so, like, that, obviously then it breaks, and you know, and now he has the will to get out, and he wants to go fight.
Yeah.
But I just I like the maturity level of like, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what's happened.
Right.
Which is
it's interesting.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Nia is very good. I love that I love the way that she is fighting.
Right.
Because she, like you said, you know, she's grown up with this idealized image of Lord Genome, and so her initial fight is to see all that he's done and to recognize this is not good. What I do like about this, however, is that there's a hint of Lord Genome that we don't know then. That isn't... and this might be a hot take.
No, do it.
I don't think Lord Genome is evil.
Okay.
I think Lord Genome is complacent, and over his 1,000 years of life, has now become like lethargic, and is not like he's steeled himself so much, so that he doesn't feel any of these problems. These problems are not problems to him anymore.
Yes,
he's like, this is why he can throw Nia away. And that's fine. It's because everything has become expendable to him. He's been surrounded by so many things that generate their life from him anyway, that he's not like, everything is egocentric and has been for 1,000 years. And his only job is to make sure the rest of the humans don't die.
Right. He lost.
Yeah, he lost.
And now he's going to tuck his tail between his legs and make some hard decisions.
And so... he's not good. He's not a good guy. He's a villain for sure. I'm not arguing that he's like a good guy. I'm just saying that there's a part that part that Nia saw, that Nia remembers of an actual person. Yes, a person that felt that was good, isn't entirely untrue. At one point, it was probably very true. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you catch this. This is, we're not even on Lord Genome, but
no,
this
we can be.
Yeah, you know what? Lord Genome's quick. I don't actually have a lot of...
We can bounce back to Simone and Nia. They come.
I'm sure we're going to bounce back to Simone at least, but Lord Genome is very interesting. One of the interesting facts, I don't know if you caught this, but Guam, so the armadillo, is to Lord Genome what Buta is to Simone. So Guam went into space with Lord Genome and fought the Anti-Spiral years ago, and we see a picture of Lord Genome as a warrior with Guam on his shoulder.
Oh, interesting. I did not see that at all.
And this is so like, I just think it's funny that like he also had an animal guy.
Interesting.
And so the assumption is this is also why Guam is just an armadillo.
Huh. He's not a beastman.
He's not a beastman. He's an animal. He's the most animal out of all of the beastmen that we see.
I mean, that's true.
And his beastmen are a little bit more like the anteaters just have anteater heads, but but he's like he is just an armadillo that has learned to walk on its hind legs.
Okay.
And this is because he is like evolved with the spiral power over the years. But he's like the original. He went with Lord Genome originally and has lived for that long. And he even references that he says something to Sita Mandra, the flying general, says something like, "Wow, it's pretty bold of you to say that in front of the Spiral King." And Guam is like, "We go back." And like they like drop these hints, and then there's like one picture where like if you look on his shoulder, you're like, "Oh, that's definitely Guam." Like I can see his face, like that's his outline. And so like they kind of drop these hints, but they don't really tell you. And then I think later it gives like when Buta like becomes a human.
Yeah, forgot that happened.
Becomes a person
for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then goes back to anyway. Nothing makes sense at that point in the story.
Yeah,
but it's just funny to me. I just like, oh, he had like one too. Like he had another animal, but I don't know if that's a requirement for Spiral Warriors.
Sure.
I'm
But the contrast, right? The comparison,
right?
The parallel,
and
right? That's what I'm looking for.
And that's what I'm saying is like I think that the similarities between Simone and Lord Genome are much greater than we want to think they are. I certainly the similarities between Lord Genome and Kamina are much greater.
Yeah.
But Lord Genome lost.
Yeah.
And we're now looking at someone who is defeated, who the Anti-Spiral's message of we want to make them despair has happened. They got him. He's despaired.
Yeah.
And this is why then at the end, even like again, nothing makes sense at the end of the show.
Right.
But even with his like body that he now sort of has at the end,
yes,
he wants to be a part of he wants to fight again, because they've revived this thing that he thought was impossible.
Right.
They got him to think it was impossible. And I have to assume that, like, if we're doing, like, a power ranking here, he's got to be, like, right under Simone, if not, like...
Yeah.
By
the end,
By the end, I think he's significantly under...
Right.
Simone is a monster, but...
Yes.
I think, he is comparable. The last Simone was probably him.
Right.
Which is why I think he's the one in charge now of making sure everyone's underground.
Right.
Because he ran back and he said, okay, we can only have this many people and you have to live underground.
Yeah.
Beastmen can be up because they're not people. They don't have spiral energy.
Count. Right.
By the way, that gets frustrating. But I try to create a consistency with that problem, but it gets harder and harder every time I rewatch it. But I like Lord Genome. I like him as a villain a lot. I like him as that top wall.
Yeah.
That is there. I think he's super intimidating from
he's
most
really
of this
cool
story.
One of my favorite parts with Lord Genome is it's near the end of the first half.
Yeah.
And they're fighting, and Simone goes up and is doing his big gonna fight you and beat you thing, and Lord Genome gets out of his robot and just punches him.
Oh my word.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy. That's so cool.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This encounter
has
started to revive this thing.
It gets his fighting spirit back in.
Yeah.
And you can see it.
He's excited.
Yeah.
He's genuinely thrilled.
He's like, all right, let's throw down. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I've just been sitting in a chair for who knows how long.
I've just been sitting here. He loves it. That is crazy. He's cool. So intimidating, and especially when paired with a kid Simone. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, even adult Simone is still going to look quite small next to this monster of a human being that he's made himself.
Yeah.
But he's such an that fight especially.
That's cool.
Simone is in Lagann still, and he's just getting punched by just a dude, just a guy standing there. It's very, I think he's very interesting. I just think he is what they were.
Right.
But he has accepted the despair that the Anti-Spiral wanted him to accept.
Yeah.
That's real. I mean, honestly, I don't have a whole lot else on Lord Genome. I don't know if you
Right. It's hard to parse his role in the second half of the show. Yeah. I still don't quite know where to put him. He's just this head that's kind of a computer. And then he really kind of comes back at the end, but I don't know.
I don't
know what to do with it. I understand the role that it plays in the story, but thematically it kind of maybe hops out until the very end when he gets his body for some reason and helps them.
Yeah,
he sacrifices himself at the end, as many do. So
right, he feels very computer.
Yeah,
when the head first appears.
Right.
For most of it,
I think
until stuff starts not making sense.
Yes,
and that's when I'm like. And that's when, like, he has sentience in the anti-spiral world where everyone else is in the dream.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, because he's a computer. He's not real. He's not, like, a real person.
Right.
And that's why he has sentience. Until he displays he has spiral power somehow.
Yeah.
Which seems like it necessitates a person.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So what? I don't know. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah. We'll get to the end thematically. Yeah. But eventually,
yeah.
But he's cool. I like his I don't remember what his robot's called, but it's really cool.
Lagann.
That's lasagna. Yeah.
It's too close to lasagna. It is too close to lasagna.
It's very cool.
I'm sure it's different in Japanese.
Maybe.
I mean, it's probably lasagna in Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm sure lasagna is lasagna in Japanese.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
I hope lasagna isn't. Anyway,
it's Italian. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe it is lasagna. I hope. Well, Dragon Ball. Everybody's a vegetable, so what do I know?
There you go.
Yeah, Lord,
Do you want to talk about Rossio?
Yes.
Because I feel like that is the natural progression, because I think Rossio becomes that role in the second half of the show.
Right.
Where he starts to become the Lord Genome of the new world.
Yeah. I'm gonna flash to Kid Rossio first.
Yeah,
because there's
absolutely.
things about this that I honestly, so I've watched this a lot of times. I have related heavily with Rossio in the past. I almost everything he does, I understand why he's doing it.
Yep.
And I can't say I get why. I get what he's doing. Even though the themes of the show are screaming at you that this is wrong.
Yeah.
I know that they're screaming at me, but I just I get it. I understand. But as a kid, what stood out to me this time was his and Simone's relationship all the way through. Most of the way through until they go to space and Rossio doesn't. But and like things that like tip me off in this direction that kind of illustrate this bond that doesn't really get talked about like in an outward way, at least when they're kids.
Right.
So much as it's like shown in these little bits. And one of the things is that moment that I talked about earlier, where Simone like digs at him after Kamen has died, and at the time, like I think Keaton piloted Gurren the first time. I think that's why Keaton's yelling at Simone in the hallway. He's like, you can't just like haul off because I'm in here. But
I think it's Rossio that's in Gurren, isn't it?
Yeah, it is then after. But
afterwards,
that's like so Simone like digs into him. And Rossio doesn't take like actual offense to it. Yeah. And the reason is that he doesn't. I think it seems to me the reason is because he perfectly understands what's happening. He absolutely understands that Simone is like what Simone is struggling with and what's wrong.
His life's been turned upside down.
Yeah, and so
Rossio
he doesn't go back at him,
right?
Because he knows that this like meanness isn't really what Simone wants to say. Right. It's that the hurt is coming out that way. And then he responds by immediately when Simone immediately after is like the alarm goes off or something. There's a gunman, and Simone is going to get in Lagann and is like, I'm going to pilot Gurren Lagann by myself. And Rossio immediately goes, wait, I'm going to come with you.
Oh, gotcha.
Right after he digs into him.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so when I saw that this time, I was like, what this has communicated to me is that Rossio cares a lot for Simone. Yeah. And that what he's doing here is he's doing essentially what he's going to do forever, which is everyone safe? And so he doesn't think Simone is not safe by himself. No. And so he goes with Simone. Yeah. Because he wants him to be safe and because he wants to provide some support for his friend who's clearly hurting. Right. And I think that it like gives away a deeper friendship than I thought maybe that was there before. Right. And then I think will develop. When they're adults, I think we see there's at least one moment that's more dramatic. Right. And even after, in that moment, right, Lagann starts like vomiting up the spiral energy.
Right.
And like breaks away and falls into a ditch. Like, and he like leaves Rossyu there like with the gunman.
Right.
In Gurren, and like Kitan and Yoko, I think. So, other guys come.
Yeah.
And see Rossyu, and they're like, "Yo, Simone just ditched you," and Rossyu does not say that. Right. Rossyu doesn't say Simone abandoned him.
Huh.
He won't say it because he's covering for Simone. And I'm just like, because like, even though it would feel like, if you were Rossyu, you were left out to dry.
Yes.
And you don't know why.
Right.
You don't know what the vomiting of the spiral thing, like, there's a lot of confusing things.
Yeah.
But like, it definitely feels like Simone left you out to dry. But he won't say that. Because he knows Kitan is already upset.
Right.
At Simone's attitude now.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he is, I can't add fuel to this fire.
Right.
That's already brewing.
Gotta diffuse.
I have to diffuse.
Yeah.
Which is just a lot of him. And then even after the sentencing in the second half, we get that story from Keenan later on.
Right.
Which, I don't have to do this. This is probably part of like a setting thing. But the ages in this show don't make any sense at all. But that's fine.
Sure.
I don't have to do this. Anyway. Keenan says later, like, she went by Rossyu's room after the sentencing, and he's, like, weeping in there. And, which is good for us to know.
Yes.
Because before that, you felt like, I don't know that they were ever friends.
Yeah.
Like, he's so harsh. But, like, it's that, like, to me, shows Rossyu just truly, he thinks this is it. This is the only possible way that we can quell this rebellious crowd, and we can keep the peace. It's the only way we can do it. And even if it comes at the loss of what I have to assume is one of his best friends, if not his best friend, I have to make that sacrifice, because otherwise I'd be putting myself above the needs of everyone else. And he certainly can't do that. I don't know. I just like their dynamic, and
it's really interesting.
Yeah, and that eventually comes. Yeah, like Simone is able to use that dynamic to stop Rossyu from killing himself.
Right.
Which seemed like an escalation, but where he does that same thing that Kamina did to him.
Yes.
When he was in a headspace that was caused by different things, but was awful similar.
Yeah.
Where Simone at the time was like, it's my fault that this plan isn't working. And Rossyu now is saying, it's my fault that everyone almost died. If Simone would have been here, everybody would die. And that's my fault. And someone has to pay for that.
Right.
And so they're in this similar headspace, different causes, different magnitudes, maybe,
Yeah.
Rossyu almost killed 1 million people. Or I guess led 1 million people to their deaths. It's not really his fault that the anti-spirals are going to destroy everything, but like, steps could have been taken, I agree. But so Simone uses the same thing that Kamina used years ago with him.
Yeah.
In the same, I'm going to physically punch him.
Grit your teeth.
Punch the hair tie off of his hair.
That's right.
Like, and again, why these punches are just like so, they have the kinetic force of like an elephant. I won't understand, but like, like punches the lights out.
Yep.
Because this is like what was effective for him.
Yeah.
And he's hoping that the same thing will apply to Rossyu. And it sort of does. I think that Keenan is helpful to be there too.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I love the solemnness that Rossyu makes the decisions with.
Yeah.
I love that we get to almost see like a younger Lord Genome. Like a Lord Genome who's forced, like, what did it look like when he first comes back?
Right.
And says everyone has to get underground.
Yeah.
How does he do that? And what does it look like?
Start making compromises.
Because it probably didn't look good.
Yeah.
And so this is the steeling yourself that he would have had to do. And it feels like we're almost seeing like a younger version of that.
Right.
Where Rossyu is like content to steel himself. He's content to take this burden of guilt.
Yeah.
If everyone will be okay. If it will actually lead to peace.
Right.
And that's why I love that he goes back to Adai village, his home village, and that Father Magin is there. And they have that conversation about the book.
The Book of Nonsense.
Yeah, the Book of Nonsense.
Yeah.
And Rossyu was like, I have had everyone I can find. try and analyze this text and figure this out. And it's made up.
Yeah.
Somebody just scribbled in this
gibberish.
book. And Magin laughs.
Yeah.
And Magin's like, that's funny. Like, and Rashi's like, that's not funny. My mom died. That's not funny. And like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, Magin's ability to move past it immediately
Yeah.
is good.
Right.
And should be. It's like something Rasu should have. Rasu would not be led to the actions he tries to take then if he could move past it. Mm-hmm. He could recognize I've made a terrible mistake.
Right.
And move past it. And he tries to even say, Magin tries to like encourage him in the best way he can as he's going down.
Yeah.
He's like, Rasu, because he knows.
He knows.
Because it feels like he absolutely knows.
Yeah.
And you would have to think that he's felt that way.
Right.
That like these sacrifices that he had to make as that village leader, he had to have felt that way at some point.
Yeah.
At probably many points, especially now. And so he, like, as Rasu's going down, he's like, I think you did a wonderful job. Mm-hmm. And it's his way of, like, encouraging Rasu.
Yeah.
But that's not ultimately what is going to get it.
Right.
Is going to get it done. Because Rasu did make a mistake.
Right.
It's not that he did everything right. He didn't. Mm-hmm. And so it takes Simone to say that, to the let me see you grit those teeth moment.
Yes.
Is an acknowledgement of, yes, you did screw up.
Yeah.
But let's move past it.
We got to keep going.
We got to go past it.
And it's really cool that, again, going back to Simone and Rossio's friendship.
Yeah.
Simone doesn't like grandstand, and he's not like, you were evil, Rossio, and I had to like get you straight. He's like, no, those were hard decisions, and you made really hard decisions that maybe no one else could have.
Right.
And for the time, that's maybe what should have happened. It's kind of maybe a little more up in the air of what was right and what was wrong, but Simone's at least saying,
I think
it was
right.
impossible to tell what was right, but you were just trying your best.
Yeah.
To protect everyone, right?
Yeah.
So it was the opposite of what Kamina stood for, right? Was like, get mad, fight against the impossibility, and that's what they land on. But that Rossio's version of protecting everyone, you could sympathize with a lot, I think.
Yeah. And you know what I think? I think displays that perfectly. That like Rossio's not all wrong thing. Kitan. I think Kitan displays it perfectly. Because after Kinon is like strapped to a bomb and goes off, he's like enraged.
Yeah.
And like you would get that, right?
Yeah.
But after seeing that Kinon is like totally on board with this, Kitan is like confused. Like he doesn't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And so even when they find out, they all are in the same room when they find out that like when the moon hits, everything's gone. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen is the ship that goes up, whoever's on that ship is going to live. Everyone else is dead.
Yeah.
Rossiu is like, we have to move forward with this plan. Mm-hmm. And Kitan doesn't like it. And I think he even says like Rossiu is like, is it wrong? And Kitan's like, I can't say it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
Right.
And I think that's such a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because he's saying like, I see the merit. I know why you did this.
Right.
And that's how I feel a lot towards these decisions. I get it. I absolutely understand. And I can't even say I wouldn't say the same thing.
Right.
In that situation.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand why you did that, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
There's something about it I don't like. And that's why it's so great when later Kitan goes in and says, like when Leita has the mechanic, for those of you who don't know. She's not like a character that's
there.
Forefront. She's there.
Yeah. She's our mechanic.
She's more prominent, I think, in the second half.
Yeah. For sure.
But when Leita like brings their gunman back that she's like kept, that they've all kept.
It's a great moment.
For like years. And then Kitan goes back up to Rossiu and says, give me the drill.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to do things your way. And I don't think it's wrong. But we have to do things our way.
Yeah.
Because this is how Team Gurren rolls.
Yeah.
And he's like, give me that drill. The drill's his soul. And Rossiu gives it back to him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Because Rossiu is also a member of Team Daiguren.
Yeah.
It's not that Rossiu... Rossio would love to believe that this is possible, but he can't bring himself to think that.
Right.
And he's saying, as the leader, I have to make the decision that will ensure the best outcome for the most people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he's acting. And I think he says it well, of like, I don't think you're wrong, but I don't like it.
Right.
And then they go off and fight the anti-spirals and end up saving the ship and stopping the moon and all of the things. They do the thing.
They do the thing.
And it's because that's like, I just love that the show treats it as, it's not, they don't shame Rossio. It's not so much that like, they don't like nobody rubs in his face. Like, it's not that it's like, this is the worst decision he could have made.
Right.
It's that like, the thing we're trying to tell you in this show is the opposite of this thing.
Yes.
But we're not going to say that this thing is totally wrong.
Right.
Because we can't.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It takes fighting spirit to do what Rossio did. This is one of the things that I like, is it's not that Rossio doesn't have fighting spirit.
Right.
It's that Rossio doesn't have enough fighting spirit.
Right.
Or more realistically, that he doesn't think he has enough fighting spirit.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way back
Back to comedy.
to believe in the you that believes in you.
Yes.
It's that is what he doesn't have.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Simone has now in spades. He has that ability.
Yeah.
And so since he can't believe in himself like that, he has to use the fighting spirit he has to the best end he can think of. And that's what this is.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say he's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say he's right.
Yep.
You don't want to say that either.
Nope.
But as a show of like that clearly this is not viewed with lasting consequences, is they leave the Earth with him in charge. Mm-hmm. Essentially they just reset what happened.
Right.
After they get the moon, after they get the moon back.
Yeah.
And they leave to go fight the anti-spiral, and Simone leaves him in charge.
Yes.
And trusts him with that. And like it's kind of like even the new nerd guy that he has with him, like you can even see like a little light in that guy. Like,
yes.
As Rossio is like, I'm gonna need your help.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, like
yeah, let's do it.
Rossio has now adopted that, and he's in the role that he's best at, which is that role. I don't think that's wrong for him.
Yeah, and he's still like in the epilogue at the very end after the credits, right? He's in charge and leading them well, it seems. Yeah. So he gets there.
He's good at that.
Yeah.
He is good at that.
That's his role.
It's just that he needs to understand, like, he needs to come to understand. He needs to understand what Kamina drills into Simone in the beginning. Yeah. Which is you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So it's really, I really like Rossio. I think also, from a meta, I'm going outside here now. Does it feel, so I'm a Christian and an aspiring pastor.
Right.
Does it feel very much like this is, maybe, I'm going to be generous, maybe it's all religion is what we're doing with the Adai Village thing.
Right.
I feel targeted.
No,
I feel seen.
I mean, it's very Japanese and it's very sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's like butter for bread is, religion, you just kind of upkeep it because it's part of tradition and part of culture.
Yeah,
but
that's what it felt like, yeah.
When you like really get down to what matters, then it's just gobbledygook. And you got to move past it. And that's kind of where they go. Yeah. That's
what it felt like. I don't actually feel any kind of way about it.
Sure.
Because because it does feel like they don't, like Kamina is very anti that, but I think, as we talked about, I think he's actually wrong to do that, and I think the show even makes him wrong.
Right.
But it does treat it as like this, like, they leave Rossio alone for this. They leave Adai alone.
Right.
They keep going. Like, it's fine. They want to do this, they can do this.
Right.
It's just like, I can't help when I watch it to be like, I feel a little seen.
No, yeah, I think that's it.
In some interesting ways.
Right.
And maybe that's why I can relate with Rossio a little bit more. I have in the past related with him much more, even than I do now. I don't know.
And if you really want to boil it down, again, I don't think it's this simple, maybe, but Christianity is often seen as very rule heavy and very very hard and very harsh.
Yeah.
Right, in a lot of ways, and that's kind of what Rossio and name lost me, the guy in charge of Rossio's village,
Mugging.
that's where they land on, and that's kind of what Rossio does later on, right? Is maybe take a more harsh, fundamental kind of approach to things, and there are good things behind that, but it's not in the end the right thing ultimately, maybe. And that's what I think. That's what they're saying. I think that's what they're going for. But again, maybe that's making it too simple. But
I like him. I think he's I like that. You know what? I never knew it was Rossio quotes, and that's now it makes me feel like these are like the central four figures in the show, which I think is true. Yeah. But he's definitely one of the central, like, at least ideological movements that we see going on. I like Rossio. I've always liked Rossio. Yeah. I have a soft spot for Rossio, I guess is what we'll say. Yeah. Because I've watched the show several times. I've talked to everyone I can possibly talk to about who's seen the show. Rossio doesn't get a great rap.
He's really hard to like in the second half. He's really
100% agree. It's hard. It's hard.
I think it's really sad that he doesn't go with them at the very end. I think it makes sense. Yeah. But it's kind of a bummer.
You know what he had to do?
Yeah.
He had to get out of the way for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because he can't pilot Gurren. It has to be Viral.
It has to be Viral. Let's talk about Viral.
It has to be Viral. This is a really good. First of all, if you're gonna have like a enemy rival character like this, I love him as that. I think other shows have a similar thing to him. I don't know. I think that's a true statement. But
sure, no, the rival character, the kind of an archetype is there. Yeah.
I really like him as that. I like Viral. What did you think about Viral?
No, I like Viral too. I really like Viral. He's very interesting. I remembered him being good for longer.
He's not good.
It's just like the last 3 episodes or something.
Yeah. It's only that ending voyage into space. That's
it.
And sort of like. Mm-hmm. I imagine there's been some work behind the scenes in between the epilogue and.
Right. He wasn't
like a great dude.
No.
Towards the end, but you can tell after even the time skip, I think, that he's not like mean spirited. Like he's trying to help these people get back underground. He's like he is doing what they were doing.
Right.
But for the new government.
Right.
He's trying to protect the interest of these little guys against Rossio and Simone.
Super interesting. Yeah.
And that's why they originally put him in prison.
Yeah. It's almost like he has a Kamina role. He doesn't quite get there, but that's like at the beginning of the second half.
Right.
That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to liberate them from force, and I think they even say something like this. Like he might say to Simone and Rossio when he's on that, like when they first arrest him, like, you're doing the same thing that Lord Genome did.
Yep.
You're forcing them out from underground, and he forced them underground. What's the difference? They want to be under there.
Yeah, and Simone was like, wait, we're doing what?
Hold on. Just another connection to be like, Rossio is the new Lord Genome. I just love, I loved his rivalry with Kamina. I liked the thing, their first fight is awesome to look at.
Yeah, for sure.
The sword that keeps going. I really love it. And it's cool. It's a cool way to introduce him, I think. And then to have that be the first opponent they fight as Gurren Lagann, as like the combined, like, that's cool. And I love, it's so sad. But that dream
at
hurts.
the end. Jeez.
My word.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want a family.
Yeah.
And he can't, like, we know that beastmen do not reproduce.
Right.
We also know, by the way, I don't know if you caught this, Viral's immortal. Viral will never die.
Yes.
which is why he looks the same in the epilogue that he
Yes.
does. He cut
Yep.
his hair.
Yeah.
Like, I just,
Got a
that's just
haircut.
what
He's
they
allowed to
all
do that.
do.
Yeah.
Anybody does. But like, there's something sad about he'll live forever and he'll never have that. He
Right.
can't. It's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's one of the things that I think is so cool about his dream moment is that like he's in this bliss that clearly he desires, but looks up and sees the star going across and immediately knows what he has to do.
Right.
And then you see his face go from the soft face that he had because he has like a softer face in that with his. I mean, that makes sense. I'm not like,
right, but
why did you do this? But like, I get that. But he has like that soft face with them, and then you immediately see it like goes back. He like bares his teeth
big
again,
toothy
and
grin,
like he's got that grin again. Because he immediately knows like that this is not real, and this isn't the end. Like, this isn't what we fought for. Mm-hmm. We fought for reality to really be free. Mm-hmm. And so I just like. That's really cool. It's cool that he perseveres like that.
Right.
And like that he becomes in the second half this guy that kind of like just never dies. Like this Team Rocket almost like somehow he imploded in a submarine and washed up on shore. I don't know how. That doesn't seem to make sense to me, but he's alive. Somehow this guy has been like shown that humans are more than he's ever been told.
Right.
And then, in that curiosity, Lord Genome, like, shows him the history and, like, makes him immortal and, like, gives him this task of, like, chronicling, like, observing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lord Genome's getting fun. I'm
it's
not
kind
sure.
of a fun Lord Genome moment because
Right.
Hero's like, he made me immortal so I could beat you. And Lord Genome's like, you're never going to beat him. I just need you to survive so you can tell everybody else how cool I am.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's exactly
Let's go.
what it is. That's such good. Yeah. I can finally beat you. No.
Just loses immediately.
That's not it.
Yeah.
You're actually no match at this point. Step down.
Yeah.
But then to be like through the second half, just this like the definition of like this scrappy survivor. Like he does fit the role that Lord Genome gives him of like he always will survive. Like he keeps going to see what they're able to accomplish and then to eventually join that fight.
Yeah.
In the way that he can. He's also maybe the main problem I have with what is spiral energy.
Okay.
But
it's uniquely human. I feel like that is really important.
Yeah. Here's my problem.
Yep, do it.
Why can he pilot Gurren?
I don't think he can.
But he's in there.
I think he's just there.
He's just there?
And Simone is doing the whole thing.
I don't think he's...
Until
I believe
until Buta somehow gets fighting spirit, and then he can.
Buta does have fighting spirit.
Yeah.
They do clarify that. And
Yeah.
Buta's not a beastman. He's a pig.
He's
mole,
a pig mole, something like that.
which I'm gonna have to assume don't have fighting spirit naturally. But Lord Genome seems to explain this by saying this guy was around Simone so much that he seemed to absorb it.
Yes.
And then stunt. If I'm again, nothing really makes sense after the third to last episode.
Yeah.
But if I'm hearing right, stunted his own growth in an effort to store up more spiral energy so he could evolve into a humanoid form.
Okay.
Is what I heard.
Okay, that's... Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But clearly he does have spiral energy because he does go down with Viral.
Right.
And that, you know what that is when... Okay, maybe that's it.
I thought that was it. That's kind of how I found it. I don't know why Viral is there in the first place then.
And he never pilots Gurren alone.
Viral?
Yeah,
Correct.
Viral never pilots Gurren alone. He
He's
only
just...
pilots his Gurren Lagann.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Because several times Kamen is like, Simone, you do everything. I'm just going to sit here because you need to learn to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And so Simone does the whole thing. So I just assumed that Viral was like, I'm just here for the ride to cheer you guys on. I don't know.
Right. I'm of the opinion that...
Because it'll be cool later.
Right. Because we're going to like do speeches and I'm going to be part of it.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that Kamina actually has a very low amount of spiral power, if any at all. But that's my... I think he has to have some, because he is able to take it over, and we see him pilot it.
Yep.
But I think that goes with like the whole Simone is the guy.
Yeah.
And Kamina understands that. I'm not the one with this power. Simone is. But he definitely has strong power. But,
Oh yeah. He does the Giga Drill and
right,
all
yeah.
that first.
And that's him.
Yeah.
I just, and like, I could also make the argument that, like, even if you want to say Viral does have spiral power,
Sure.
is it because Lord Genome made him immortal? Is it something about that? Did he put it in him? Because he changed his physiology somehow.
That's true.
He's
Maybe
not
that is
a
it,
normal
actually.
beast man.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
And maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But then my other question is, why can the Beastmen pilot gunmen? They don't have spiral power, and they pilot gunmen. And so my first answer is, the gunmen must run off of something else. They run differently. Lord Genome like made new gunmen that operate differently. Here's my big problem with that. Humans take them over with spiral energy.
Yes.
So what is that? And then I came up with a theory. I'm like, this is like, I have a cork board with like red strings.
I might have a very simple answer to this, but go for it.
I'm so, if you just crash this ship, I'm going to laugh. My theory now, my now theory from this watch through is, I think Lord Genome has so much spiral power and is in control of that spiral power so acutely that he is powering every single gunman that exists.
Okay.
Until that gunman is overridden by humans. Which is easier to do because he's not in the gunman.
Right.
He's miles away.
Yep. On his chair.
This is my only guess.
Yeah.
Now go ahead. Knock my tower of cards over.
No, so we know, because they do the whole flashback thing, where like the gunmen were specifically designed to fight the anti-spiral.
Right, yeah.
Right? So you fight the anti-spiral with spiral energy.
Yeah.
Right? So they were designed with that in mind.
Right.
And run on that. It's very possible. Again, I don't remember if there's anything like this.
Yeah.
But I thought at some point they mentioned running gunmen on electricity.
This feels familiar to me for some
There's
reason.
like something in
yeah.
some sort of episode where like they talk about running the gunmen on electricity, and obviously the new gunmen that Rossio kind of creates, they don't run on spiral power, if I'm correct on that.
Oh, yeah, no, they don't.
They don't run on spiral power at all. So I just kind of assumed that it was well, I don't know.
It seems as
I
if
like
they
your
don't
theory. I
run
like that
on
idea.
spiral power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my theory is neat, but I don't know that it's cool. It's real. And the Grop rolls don't run on spiral energy, and this is their problem when they fight the anti-spiral, is that they can't because they don't have spiral energy.
Yeah.
And this is why then they have to come up with the other weapon. They have to make new weapons for them. And yeah, that's my final answer.
No, that's okay.
Close that book.
There might be a better.
There probably is a better answer.
Honestly,
if one of the 6 people that watch this know a
leave
better
it in the
answer,
comments.
Yeah, leave it in the comments, please.
We'll maybe look up the wiki later.
I am begging. I'm begging to know. But anyway, that was a big aside into the universe.
Well, I kind of along with Viral, right?
So these ones are kind of quick because I don't have anything. Well, maybe not quick. Who knows?
Sure.
Maybe you have a novel. But I
do have one.
Pun intended.
I know they're coming out. So.
Yep.
We really did. Very product placement.
Okay, go to the beginning.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
there. Amazon. Go to Amazon.
Go to Amazon.
Just in case you skip to this middle. Yoko.
Okay.
I've watched this series many times.
Yep.
And I've had like different thoughts about different characters a lot. Clearly, we've been here for a minute, and we're still going about characters.
Yeah.
I honestly have no thoughts at all about Yoko.
Really?
Still.
Interesting.
I have not no thoughts.
Yeah.
I have very few thoughts.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I have a hard time. No, I don't have a hard time understanding why she's there. I know
Yeah,
exactly why
obviously.
she's there.
Yeah.
And that's what it's gonna be. That's anime. But also that is this guy, by the way, Hiroyuki Imaishi, the director. He is He also directed Kill la Kill. I don't know if
Yes.
you've ever heard. Oh, okay.
No.
You have heard.
I've heard of it. I have not watched it myself.
That's just
but-
like what if Yoko was
the
all
main
of
character?
them? Like what if all of them were Yoko? What if we didn't have any clothing?
Yeah, right,
and
exactly.
By the way, the show is actually hilarious. I've watched the show.
Cool.
It is hilarious and it is pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
it's just like that's a lot of it.
Yes, it is.
And so, like, I get, like, why they put Yoko in here.
Yep.
And I understand, like, her, like, she has a lot of cool moments and a lot of cool things.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little, like, half-episode spin-off where she's a teacher.
Yeah,
Like, that's
super
so
interesting.
fun.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, like, what she wants to do. And that is what she ends up doing.
Right.
It's just
At the
going to
very
live
end,
on this island.
Yeah.
And teaching these kids. Like, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Like, that's really interesting. And then her relationships with both...
They don't go well.
No, they go terrible.
She has poor taste in men, maybe.
Yeah,
At least
just,
timing-wise.
can smell death on them.
Yeah.
I like.
You're about to die. Let's kiss.
Yeah. It sounds like a
Sorry.
good time.
There you go.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
And I have to assume she doesn't like get married, like because
No,
the
it
end we
doesn't really
see,
seem
it
like
seems
it.
like it's like just her.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
For
I think,
her,
Yeah.
I think, but I just don't like have a lot of thoughts.
Sure.
I don't know if you have more. I just don't.
No.
For like such a main character, like one of the three that are in the first episode,
Yes.
I like just don't have that many thoughts.
This is maybe the one thing I'll add. I don't think there's a whole lot. I think she's
Yeah.
mainly a foil for everyone, as opposed
Sure.
to like Kamina is like a sub protagonist.
Yeah.
And like Nia has some of that energy too. But I think Yoko is there to embody just a sense of rebellion, right?
Sure.
She's got a skimpy outfit. She runs around doing whatever she wants.
Yeah.
She's part of this rebel group.
Yeah.
She's got that not nuance, but finesse with her sniper rifle. It's a
Yeah.
very different kind of weapon. It's really the only weapon that seems to work against the gunman.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a backstory on that. She's a cool hot sniper. I think that's as far as they got.
Yeah. I think that is where it stopped.
But again, like her presence is just kind of to fuel that rebellion, right? She doesn't really conform in any way.
No, yeah.
And right when, again,
I'm sorry.
it's such a difficult conversation to have, but
Yeah.
when the beach episode, not to bring that up because you said you didn't want
Love
to.
the beach episode. It's my favorite.
When everyone's kind of gushing over Nia,
Yeah.
and Yoko is not kind of the sexy one in that episode. Which
What is happening? I just not get it? I don't understand at all. I'm like, first of all, I don't know that actually any ages are ever actually confirmed.
Sure.
I've heard, this is what I have,
Okay.
that Simone and Nia are 14.
Yep.
And so is Yoko.
Oh, no, I have no idea.
That doesn't make sense to
That
me.
doesn't make sense to me.
But maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
Yep.
all I'm saying is Nia is a child.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying this in like
pretty
the
weird.
weird like shut it down child porn thing.
Sure.
Which
No.
is don't do that.
Yeah.
But like in like I don't like she's not drawn to be that way.
No, thankfully, no.
I don't and in this episode it feels like we're supposed to think that.
Right.
And I'm
At the very
sitting
least,
there,
oh, she's so cute. Maybe it's the most innocent way to read that.
I'm literally sitting there like I quite literally don't get it.
Right.
Like, why are they like this?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my little upsetting. I don't understand. But
Right.
What do I know?
But at the very least, right, it like bothers Yoko that she's not the center of attention, and that like there's still some insecurity in her.
Yeah.
And we see like her anger after Kamina dies, and
Right.
And kind of her resignation in the second half, where she's like, "All right, I'm done," and goes to teach.
Yeah.
And does something more valuable than sniping people.
Yeah.
In like her own thoughts. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of nuance around Yoko, maybe, but again, you have to dance around maybe the central purpose.
Sure. And I don't think I don't want to make this sound like I dislike Yoko.
No, I like Yoko as well.
In fact, I think that the decision to after they win, the decision to say, "All right, I'm gonna go because I don't belong here."
Right.
Because this is not my strong suit, is like incredibly mature and a very good thing to do.
Yep.
And a thing that no one else decides to
does
do,
that.
which is
I don't think so. Yeah. I guess maybe
Leita-
some of the characters, because one of names are escaping me, but one of them they get married and have a kid.
Yeah, Dayaka, yeah.
Yeah, and
And Keaton's oldest
Yeah.
sister, Kyo.
right there it is.
Those
Because
names are-
Daikon kind of has that, where he's like, I have a family now, I can't
Yeah.
go off and do all these crazy things, and he does at the very end.
Yeah.
So does Yoko. So yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, because they come back to the fight anyway.
Yeah.
But like that's I'm like Yoko. This is like an example of Yoko knowing her place, exactly what she's good at, and
Yep.
she when the fight comes back, she's there immediately. But when we're doing this politics thing and we're doing the bureaucracy,
Yeah,
I
no
don't
way.
like this. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna go teach children on an island,
Right.
And that's fine, and that's a good
cool.
answer.
Yeah.
And clearly it has been beneficial because we see in the epilogue that Nakim, the little boy who was in the class, is like in the army now. Like clearly this is like she's doing what she wants to do, which is make this
and it's an
impact on
important
the future.
role. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Oh my word!
Cool.
Just it is cool, and I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else other than Yoko? That's all I really have to say.
Yeah.
Yoko.
Yeah, I don't have, as I said. I think Liron is really like central, is always there, and I have nothing to say.
Yep.
I have nothing. I have like a few things. I think Liron's interesting. I think he's fine.
Right. He serves a
don't
purpose.
dislike him. I laugh at a lot of the jokes.
Sure.
At a lot of the I'm weird jokes.
Yeah.
Which is funny to me because that's perfect. Because that's exactly who would make Kamina uncomfortable.
Right.
It's that guy.
Yep.
And I love how uncomfortable he makes him.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
then, like, I love to see, like, Gimme, like, the whole time is uncomfortable. Like, when he's a kid, he's uncomfortable. And then even when he's an adult, he's like, I've always been creeped out by this guy.
I like the
this
line
guy.
that he was like, "This is the one guy I can never handle."
Yeah,
he can like stand up to everybody else.
Yeah, I don't like this guy. I just like I wanted to mention him because I'm like he is there the whole time and he is important and he serves kind of like he's the tech guy, he's the guy in the chair, whatever you want. Like he serves. I like the jokes mainly with him.
Sure.
And I like Keaton, and we've talked a little bit about Keaton, and essentially probably all I really have to say we've said.
His death. A lot of people die at the end. I think Keaton's bums me out the most.
So many people. It bums you out. Now we're gonna have to stop. Okay.
At the end,
understand
other
why.
than Kamina, but
I understand why it would bum you out.
Yeah.
So here's my hot take on this.
Yep, do it.
Right, my new hot take, and I am talking so much. Hopefully next month I won't talk this much, but I don't think. I think that how the deaths are portrayed in the end versus Kamina's death, I don't think they want you to be sad at the end, or like they don't want to make the same level of sadness at the end.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do is with all of those deaths, every one of them dies either like actively smiling or pleased with this situation.
Yes.
And so, like, we see all these people go down, and I think that the main ones, the biggest ones, I don't even actually think we see, I think Maken is the name of the one, but he just, like, charges a missile. I don't even know that we see his face, but...
the samurai guy.
The samurai guy, yeah. But, like, Kid and Iraq die together after they've run out of ammo.
Yeah.
Zorthi, the cigarette guy.
He goes first.
Gets crushed. He's crushed first.
Yeah.
And like the big ones are I think Jorgen and Balenbo.
Yeah.
The twins and Keaton.
Right.
Obviously they happen at different times, but Keaton or the Jorgen and Balenbo. I love that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that one specifically. I don't think I'm supposed to be sad at.
Right.
And there's a hint of sadness. Obviously, they're dying. Yes. I get that, but like, they throw Gimme and Dari towards the ship.
Yeah.
And they're like, live well, enough for us too. And then they just go out fighting. Yeah. And they go out laughing. Like maniacally laughing. It's like an evil laugh. They go out like, I'm just like, it's clear. I just like that quote, the thing that Keaton says to Rossiu, where he says, when he says like, this is how Team Gurren does it.
Right.
This is what's happening.
Yeah.
They're dying. They're dying. This is not going well. But this is how they go.
Yeah.
This is how they
specifically, they died saving you because they wanted to. Right.
Oh,
it's kind of like
love that.
That's the line.
That's what I love. First of all, I love that Keaton doesn't talk well, and that's so. It like makes him feel more like a knockoff Kamina than anything.
Yeah.
But like, he's like the Walmart brand of Kamina. But like, I love that quote. Like, his like, you don't feel like you owe them.
Right.
You don't owe them anything. They did this because they wanted to.
Yep.
That's why we all do this.
Yep.
And he says this to Gimme at a time where Gimme is like, I want to fight, but I'm too scared. Like, I how can you get back in that thing and go back out there? Like, I want to, like, my heart, like, I want to fight. I want to, like, be part of this.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. And this is where he, like, highlights, I think, the difference between where Gimme is looking at this as a duty. He's looking at this as a responsibility that he has. And Keaton is saying, no, that's not what we fight for.
Right.
We fight because we want to.
Right.
We do this because we want to, not because we have to.
Right.
Because they don't have to.
Right. They could
and that's
just
what the
go
dream
back to
sequence
underground.
shows.
Yep. Yeah.
They don't have to do this, but they do it because they want to. And that's so cool. I just like... this is very cool. And his death is awesome, I think. So there's the soundtrack of this show. I love.
Yeah. It's got great music.
And there's a song. I don't know what the actual song of this is. The name of the song is.
Yeah.
But it's the one that says "Row, row, fight the power."
Yeah.
I like everyone. You all know what I'm talking about as soon as they say that.
One.
It's that one. But it's the song is. It's a weird song, by the way.
It's a weird song. It's like half rap, half opera.
It's
crazy.
It's weird if you listen to it separately. I recently put it on. I like played it a little bit for my son. Yeah. And so now he'll ask sometimes. He's like, "Can we watch Row Row Fight Power?"
That's so good.
He's like, so I put it on a little bit for him, but and he's always like so confused when the opera singer like comes on. But anyway, that like I think they use that song great by having it be that background.
Yeah.
And that piano that starts out in that time where like he hugs Yoko.
Right.
And like goes out and kisses Yoko and goes.
Yeah.
It's like we all at that moment, you are positive he's not going to make it.
Right.
I know he's not going to make it. And so what we're watching that last bit of fighting spirit come out in Keaton.
Yeah.
And what's cool? So I don't know if you noticed, but there's only 3 people that we ever see have spiral eye patterns.
Oh, interesting.
Lord Genome.
Yeah.
Pretty predictably.
Yeah.
Keaton, when he dies.
I don't think I saw.
And Simone.
Yeah.
At the end, who has 1, not 2.
Huh.
Which is maybe its own question.
Sure.
I honestly, I don't know.
Sure.
And I've already made a wild theory today.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Keaton gets the spiral eyes as he does the Giga Drill break.
Right,
at the end. Which...
Very cool moment.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's so cool.
It's great. And this is like... It's such a cool death to me.
Yeah.
I have a hard time being like sad about it.
Yeah, no,
because of how because I almost look at it like, man, I don't want to die, but that's a way to go. like that's incredible. Yeah. Nobody wants to die, but like,
right.
That's incredible. And I love like at the end where he's like, and he even says at the end as like it's like white around him, and he's like, so that's what the spiral power is.
Yeah.
That's like that's great. And he like fades into nothing.
Right.
And this buys them. This gets them out of what they're in, and that like I do like that ending battle. A lot of them die.
Yeah. It's really cool. I do think that.
I also love that he calls them bozos.
Bozos.
All the time. I love it. There's something about it.
Right. Maybe this is getting into theme territory.
That's fine.
But at the very end, right, it's hope versus despair. Right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I almost see all those deaths as like, on one hand, they're going out smiling, but everybody left over, everyone who dies, you get that bit of despair.
Yeah.
And even like as an audience member, everyone who dies, you're feeling that despair yourself. You're like, these odds are looking bad.
Yeah.
Are they gonna do it?
Yeah.
Right, which is cool.
They already
it's
weren't looking
getting
great,
you
yeah.
into the whole kind of dynamic of hope versus despair, and you just kind of
Right.
feel that as it goes. So
It's very cool. It's a great way, I think, to do that, and to
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
and to
I
show
didn't-
the anti-spirals are no. We didn't talk about the anti-spiral character.
Oh, sure.
I don't know that the anti-spiral is a character.
Right.
But like,
depression.
yeah, that's pretty good. He's depression. I love the only real comment I have
Sure.
about that is, I know there's probably other takes on this, and maybe you even have a different take, but when they talk about what they've done, like that they've sealed themselves off
Right.
in this thing because they saw this ending threat of this overuse of spiral energy destroying everything.
Yeah.
And that's where it's headed. Mm-hmm. And they've sealed themselves off. I keep saying it.
Yeah, it.
I really
don't
have
know.
no idea.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe a collection
Because
of
they're all
all
like
of them.
hooked up to
Yeah,
the same thing.
I don't
so.
know, but the anti-spiral
Yes.
seems to almost get mad
Yeah.
at them and is like, do you do you know what it took
Right.
to do this?
Yeah.
And so this is a test, and then when they get him at the end, when they like destroy him,
Yeah.
he even says like, if this is the end, if your will is really stronger,
Right.
because that's what they proved in the battle.
Yes.
That hope is stronger than the despair they tried to inflict.
Yes.
That now it's up to them to stop the spiral nemesis.
Yeah.
And there's no anger there. Mm-hmm. It's just that you've proven that your will is stronger than ours. But in that beginning, I just think it's worth mentioning that this would not be easy. Mm-hmm. That the decision that they made is similar to Rossy's decision, similar to Lord Genome's decision, where like we think, mainly because the show is making us think this,
Right.
but we think, and naturally I think a little bit, we think like this is ridiculous, this is a bad decision, and we see that in hindsight, and we're like, this is a bad decision. But I think we can miss. I think I've missed in the past when I watched it that there's real spirit. There's a different kind of spirit, a different kind of fight that you have to do to do that, to seal yourself like that. And it is depression. It's not good.
Right.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It is depression. Like, but it's there is a strength there.
Yeah.
That
for
they
sure.
show, that they prove in
Yes.
this
Yep.
bonkers fight where they're making universes I don't even understand anymore. That they clearly show.
Yeah.
That they have. But
Yeah.
they're just interesting antagonists. They're very thematic antagonists. I think.
Yep.
It's not quite like, whereas Lord Genome is like, we could break down him as a guy, and him as a person.
Yeah.
They're not a it's at most
It's
like an
this
entity.
force, yeah.
That is doing this. It's so we've talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about most of the things. This has actually gone very well.
Yeah.
We've crossed my list off exactly in the order I wanted to cross it
Perfect.
off on. All I have to say essentially about the medium is I love the soundtrack, and the animation's really good.
It still holds up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really well.
So this was made by Gainax. I don't know if anybody listening knows anything about anime, but this was made by Gainax. But it was, as I said, it was directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, which is a guy who will go on to work with Studio Trigger, and he'll form Studio Trigger from this project. So this is the birth of Studio Trigger, which is a studio that I will pretty much watch anything they make.
Yeah. Cool.
Even to the point that I've watched some things and I'm like, this is not for me.
Okay.
And I know it's not for me. Little Witch Academy. Not for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Not for me. And I should know that based on the title. But I watched it because it was Trigger.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. It was just
Sure.
like, it was just, I just love this animation style.
Yeah.
I love this like fluid style.
Yes.
Which is kind of strange for me because I typically actually like more rigid character models and stuff. And it has that too. It's not like it's totally fluid all the time. I love that the fights are like very fluid and
It's
movement
beautiful.
is very
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, everyone's very shapy and the lines are very thick. And,
Yeah.
and it's very exaggerated and
which fits the thing. It fits the theme.
It fits the theme.
Yeah. The only plot thing
Yeah.
that we didn't touch at all
Yeah.
is the wedding.
Oh
the
yeah.
end.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And one of the things to say, and I probably could have said this when we talked about Simone, but I didn't.
Yeah. Again, we're back
I
to Simone.
love that, first of all, there's a moment in the final battle where Nia, like, glitches a little bit, and you see on Simone's face, at that moment, in the final battle, he knows Nia's not going to make it.
Gotcha.
He knows that if they take the anti-spiral down, Nia's gone.
Right.
He's aware.
Yeah.
And she knows.
Yes, they both know.
And they
yeah.
both know. And in that moment, unlike the problem we had when we took Daigun's on, when he's thinking about
right.
Yoko,
Yeah.
unlike that, this doesn't affect his spirit.
Yeah, it kind of resolves him.
Yeah,
in a
it
way.
resolves him to do this.
Yeah.
Even though he knows that by doing this, Nia will certainly disappear.
Yeah.
She's not going to make it. And she lasts, I feel like, longer than she probably should. But
Right, and
hey,
they even say that.
yeah,
It's like, I don't know how she lasted
right.
this
Yeah,
long, but-
how did this happen? But he knows that.
Yeah.
They go through the whole wedding thing, which you really should have told them, Simone.
Maybe. It's a
almost,
rough parting gift for your wedding.
almost messed up. I mean, like, he knows and he's
Yeah.
fine, but I'm like,
I mean,
they
they
want
want-
like an audience,
Right.
Like,
They want a happy, normal wedding,
Sure.
I feel like.
And that's what
It's
they think- yeah, anyway.
So.
and so like he gets this moment, which
Yeah.
is great.
It's
I
very
think
sweet,
that's
yeah.
awesome. And then like goes off into the sunset.
Right.
But Gimme says something that is awesome, and like I think shows again one of the differences. Maybe we don't really get to see between maybe Simone and Kamino. One of the reasons that he's able to take on this responsibility that the anti-spirals left him with,
Yeah.
of not creating the spiral nemesis, is Gimme is like, why don't you bring her back?
Oh,
You
yeah.
can. You can
bring
do
everyone
anything.
back. Yeah.
Bring them all back.
Yeah.
And he says no,
Yeah.
and he won't do it. And Yoko, I think, even explains like, Simone's not a god.
Yeah.
He can't do that. And the thing is, he can.
He probably could.
He is
yeah.
able.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that they're talking. This is the thing that will create the spiral nemesis. It's the overuse of this ambition, this
right.
drive, that is going to cause this. And so
Right.
Simone, even in the face of the possibility of bringing back both Nia and Kamina, says no, I'm not going to do it, and doesn't waver at all.
Yeah.
Just says no and walks away.
Yep.
Puts the freaking cape on his back.
Yep.
It's so
And he's just
cool.
gone.
And he's gone. And then we see him like years later.
Yeah.
And he's aged, which makes me think he's not tapped into whatever Lord Genome has that was
No,
making him
yeah.
immortal.
Yep.
Which is why I think we got one spiral eye and not two.
Okay.
But he's just going around like doing his thing,
Yeah.
living his life.
Yeah.
And I think that's neat.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is a very cool story. I really love it.
Yeah.
As I typically say, I think a lot of stories, almost all stories, I think, have some level of underlying message, meaning, and I think this has several, of which we've talked about
Right.
a good deal.
Many things.
I've like pulled a couple that I like want maybe your thoughts on.
Yeah.
And if you have any, please go ahead. I think that this talks a little bit and about government, or maybe I'll say the lack thereof. There's a level of like rebellious, almost anarchist kind of feel
Yeah.
to what Team Daiguren is.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't know that it's trying to say anything. I just don't know if you thought about it at all when you watched it, or had any thoughts about that.
Right.
In that direction.
Yeah. Right, so row, fight the power.
Sure. Yeah. That's.
I think because our discussion about Rossio and that whole deal, I don't think I would call it anti-government
no.
necessarily, right? I don't think
Yeah.
that's the message. I think that would be very easy to kind of assume,
Right.
because of most of the show. But I think the epilogue says a lot to where it's well governed and they have
Right.
a good understanding of what should happen. But it's the people like they're the leader at the beginning and Rossio's leader and Lord Genome and
Right.
all those people, to where I think it's more important to the show to kind of see where is the governing bad, and if it's bad, like if it's unjust and wrong, then you can't just roll over and take it. You should get mad about it and change it.
Yeah.
Even if that requires a lot of sacrifice. So I think there is like a radical kind of maybe taste to it.
Oh yeah.
But it's not that anarchy is the end all be all. But you're trying to get the world right again.
Right. Yeah, it's throwing off suppression.
Yeah.
So when that shepherding or governing, kind of loosely, when the overseeing for everyone's safety becomes something that is now suppressing these people.
Yeah.
That's when this overthrow happens.
Right.
And no matter the sacrifice, it seems like at some point.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard. This is hard for me specifically.
Yes.
Probably because I'm a rule follower, which is probably why I like Rossio.
Yeah, I get that.
So I can sympathize with it because I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It paints a pretty compelling picture. It's not. Yeah, I think to the extent that the show takes it, that the show takes it as it's not that governing is bad.
Right.
It's not that order is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's that when it is corrupted, we need to stop it.
Right.
We need to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. And I think I can agree with that. And
to a point that makes sense. Right. If the powers that be are oppressive and wrong, then the people have a right to rise up and do something about it. Right. And I think that's you got to be careful with that one. You got to be careful with that one, but it's definitely probably a good thing.
Yeah.
In most circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I really want to get that much closer to that one. Yeah, it's just hard. It's nuanced. It's hard. Yeah. It's not like a thing that you can't give a general rule of at this line do X. It's not a thing you do that for.
And I think it's very smart of the show. They do say that, right? But I don't think that's the biggest theme and message. Because it's not anti-government. Mm-mm. It's like when the government is just one of the things that's holding you down, right? Right. Along with, they mentioned luck several times. If you're unlucky, lucky. If you're just unlucky, that's no reason to quit. Yeah. If, they kind of personify the world, right? And when the world is against you, they kind of say that a lot. Yeah,
one of the quotes that I love about that is all the lights in the sky are our enemies.
Yeah.
It's just there's something about it that's cool. Everything about this show is cool to me, but that illustrates that this innumerable adversary.
Right. The universe is out to get you.
Right. And if that's the case, even in the face of that, don't waver.
Right.
From that goal, from the ideal anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's almost as if the level of opposition ought not determine whether you oppose it or not.
Right. No matter the odds.
Right. No matter the odds. Yeah. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Which is something that comedy gets half right.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's fine. That Simone, I think, doubles down on.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big things. I'll go back. I'll do the one that is harder for me to wrap my head around. So first, there is a decently sized undertone of this progression of human. I'm doing a spiral thing with my hand.
There it is.
The progression of life almost, and it's in a very evolutionistic kind of thinking, which isn't surprising to me at all. That makes sense based on when it was made and who it was made by. But this upward trajectory that things will continue to get better and that humanity will continue to progress forward, and this is a good thing, and that it will end well. And in fact, to the extent that the enemy's argument is, no, that constant progression will end in your destruction. It will end in the destruction of everything.
Yes.
And the answer is no, it won't. Because Simone is correct. And so I have a hard time reconciling that with what I think to be accurate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like it.
Sure.
I would like it to be true.
Yes.
It doesn't seem. It's hard for me to say that this upward trajectory. Is an accurate trajectory. I don't think I can say that. And so then that leads me almost to be like, are the anti-spiral wrong? Which maybe is why I'm like, again, I was like, I think the sacrifice is bigger than we think it is.
Right.
Maybe that's why I sympathize a little bit that way. I don't know if you've thought about that aspect of it at all, about this progression, evolutionistic kind of feel that it seems to especially have at the end.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think, especially thinking of it as like a piece of fiction that's striving to show something, right? This idea of the spiral, and I always think of it as linear progression, but again, that's spiral is what they're using.
Sure, yeah.
But it's the most optimistic thing you can do to kind of think things will be getting better.
Yeah.
And as long as we stay the course, right?
Yeah.
If we can buckle down and do the thing, then things will progressively get more advanced and better, and we'll get to a place of not perfection, but maybe a more just world.
Sure.
Right, is kind of how I take it. Again, that's a big philosophical debate. As like we talked about, right? As a Christian,
sure.
Ever since Adam and Eve disobeyed, people are gonna sin. They've been sinning the same ways,
right?
And I certainly don't think that will get to an evolutionary progression of just excellence and power, and like in the show, right?
Sure,
not in that sense, like on this world. So it's kind of weird to think about, maybe, especially in a Christian perspective, but it's certainly an optimistic view. I think is what it's going for.
Yeah, and I almost want to be able to like wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I do see that, like, and my argument, and this is a thing that I don't even know that the show itself would disagree with.
Right.
Or, well, that's kind of a weird way to phrase that, but like the creators maybe would even disagree with if you were like, hey, can you expand the world out a little bit?
Right.
It's not that like all will always be well now forever.
Yes.
That's not what they're saying.
No.
And it's inevitable that another Lord Genome, another, Rossi, someone else will figure this out, and we could do this again. Mm-hmm. It's not that it will never happen again.
Right.
And there's something, I think, that is integral about using a drill or a spiral for that like argument.
Yeah.
That is circular, that is like turning in on itself, you know? And so it's not like they're saying there will be no problems, there will be no evil.
Right.
It's that we'll get to a better place if we stay the course. That was a good way to say it, I think.
Yeah. Keep drilling.
Keep drilling. Keep going, and we'll get to a better place if we stay that course.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I think the show makes it extremely clear that doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. That doesn't mean that people aren't lost. That doesn't mean like. I clearly, as we talked about, the end where I was doing this only Simone, Leron, Yoko, and the kids from Adi. So Gimme and Dory and Rossiu. These are the only members of the original Team Gurren that are alive. Everyone else is dead.
Yeah, it's true.
And so they like again, I think these discs are painted as a worth it sacrifice at minimum, you know. And so it's not like it says there's no sacrifice, there's no pain in this.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good. Just keep drilling.
Yeah.
I think, and that is good. And
right.
Yeah.
I think if you think back to Kamina and Simone's story about them being trapped in the tunnel at the very beginning, I feel like that's a very good picture of what they view the world as. Right? We're all in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And some of us have to drill.
Yeah.
And some of us have to get mad and encourage.
Right.
And there's still going to be people in the tunnel that are going to give up and make things harder.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because it's 3-2. Right.
Yeah.
They outnumber the
Right.
people who are trying to get out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then right. So I feel like that fits pretty well with what they're trying to say. So the lesson is right. Don't stop pushing people and don't stop drilling.
Right. Yeah, and in that way, that's good. Wow, I have a better outlook on this show now. That's great. I think, though, maybe the biggest thing, at least this time when I watched it, one of the biggest takeaways is this idea of, like, self-confidence, of having confidence in yourself. And I have always, and this is, I think this is like a joke on the internet. The whole like myriad of phrases of believe in the me who believes in you or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, I watched it this time and I thought about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's some good logic here.
No, absolutely.
That actually is really true.
Yeah.
I think. Like the first thing that Kamina says, the believe in the me that believes in you.
Yep.
There are times it's easier to do that.
Right.
It's where it's much easier
to
believe in someone else that thinks you can do it.
Yes.
And that's like step one almost in this confidence game is someone else is confident for me.
Right.
And I've gained confidence because they think I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's like super encouraging. Obviously it's encouraging. And this is like the thing, but then this is not complete. You can't stop there.
Yeah. You need the Nia half.
Right. We need to eventually believe. And the last thing that Kamina says, not the very last thing, but one of the last things that Kamina says to Simone before he dies, is don't believe in the me that believes in you. Believe in the you that believes in you.
Right.
Because eventually we have to get to this point where even if everybody in the tunnel is saying we're never going to get out, we're going to die, you need to keep drilling.
Right.
And this is like through Nia, evolves in, is fully comes into form. And I think it's episode 10. I should know because it's my favorite episode in the series.
Cool.
But into that moment where Simone comes back and he gives this big speech of I'm not my bro, I'm me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has the confidence from himself, that he's the one who can do this, and this is what Kamina's been doing all the time. Yeah, this is the whole boasting
what I'm trying to
thing.
do. Yeah,
this is the whole boasting thing.
Yeah,
this is him believing in a him that believes in himself.
Right,
and it's
even
like
if that's just nonsense.
Right, and
you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but it's helpful, and I actually think it is helpful.
Yeah.
I said too much on that, but I don't know if you have.
No, I think it's really important, right? That we talked about. It's not that Kamina dies and Nia comes in and she's like, believe in the me that believes in you. I believe in you, Simone. She does say that, but it's like, no, you have to believe in yourself. You have to move on past bro. Forget about bro to a certain extent, and you just got to do it. Right? I feel like I was talking about this to my wife a little bit ago.
Yeah.
When you're, again, like, pointing at exactly what they're saying is depression, right, is what really holds you down. If you're depressed, then you just don't see the good about yourself, right? Yeah. Simone has that whole conversation about how he can kind of listen to the earth and figure out where to go, and he pays attention to all those sorts of things. And that's crazy cool, right?
Yeah,
that's like, nobody else does that.
No.
But he can't see that about himself.
Right.
And he needs Kamina to really shake him and say, you can do it, and you can do stuff that I can't do.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you have to do what you can do, because I can't do it, and we can both get there together, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely, I think that's one of the things that sticks with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of the things that this time was the biggest. I think the last, and I'll just like mention it almost briefly, but like obviously fighting spirit is like a big part of this, and I think that is confidence. I don't think that's separate.
Sure.
Like a
yeah.
separate
There's
theme.
it's a lot of.
I think that a lot of it is part of that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that idea, and even the like almost the evolution and the spiral itself is like this never giving up mentality. And I think out of all the things, I just want to mention it because I think out of all the things that this show has like helped encourage me in, it's that. I am going to tell a story that's real now.
Okay.
I said the first time I watched this, I had mono.
Yeah.
And that was like, obviously I was like quite like physically, your body is depressed. Like, that's what it's doing to you. It's making you, it's draining your energy. And so like in a way, this was important in that way. To this like keep going through this. It will get better.
Right.
And it did. And it obviously did. I went back to school. I'm graduated now. Obviously this is not like forever impacted my life, and it was actually incredibly helpful in other areas. But anyway, that's not the story.
Sure.
The story is much more recently. The story is about a week ago.
Okay.
As you know, because we were gonna hang out and that didn't end up happening. So I went to the hospital for some crazy like throat thing. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. But while I was at the hospital, they gave me this medicine that I was like super allergic to.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was gonna happen. It happened so fast, right? And so, if you don't have allergies, amen, great. I like, thank the Lord. I just like, but if you've ever had or heard about them, like anaphylactic shock is where your throat will close, right? So you can't breathe. And that's the big. So this is what's happening to me, right? They've injected this medicine, and there's no way to get it out because it's in my veins now. And I'm pretty sure I'm having an allergic reaction. And the nurse has left at this point. And I hit the little button and stuff. But she was going to get the doctor. And I wasn't breathing. My throat had almost had closed pretty much all the way. I wasn't breathing, and the world starts to you start to get the tunnel vision, right? Yeah. I have, on a separate note, have been having a hard time in life. This is actually not new if you've listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
It's just a difficult part of my life, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I thought I was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite. I was ready to go, and I was like, kind of like ready to give up. Almost.
Sure.
I'm like, well, this is not. I don't want to die at 27. That's a bummer, but I guess if I gotta go, I gotta go. And it is that something happened in my head that was like, no, I'm not gonna give up. I don't want to die like this. And I just kept I grabbed the button that was off, and I kept hitting it.
Theme song starts playing.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, man. I'm telling you, I kept hitting it. I'm looking around for stuff that I can possibly open my airway with, and I'm not going to talk about how you do that. But
sure.
I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give up. Yeah. And if it happens, if that were to happen, and I'm in a hospital, let's be real, this is not that serious, right? It felt serious, to me at the time, but it's not I am in the best place to have an allergic reaction that you can have an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
But, so I'm in a good place, but there's something about this show, and this is I think why this show means so much to me, is that in several times like this throughout my life, the fact that I could kind of go through this story about these people who refuse to give up inside of these odds that are mind-boggling. They're bigger than we they're not real. They're not going to be encountered by us ever. Is so does something to my spirit, encourages me in a really cool way, and that sticks with me, and I think that's why it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's
very clear. Life is hard.
Sure.
And it will kick you in the teeth.
Yeah.
And again, the backstory of the show is very tragic, right? You have all these failed attempts to defeat the anti-spiral, right? People give up all the time, and it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
But you don't have to if you don't want to. You can really fight.
Right.
So it's
I just love it.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
If you really let it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the things that I love that stories do.
Yeah.
And is when they like can cross over into this place where they actually help. They do something.
Right.
They move you in a way that's real. And I just love like thinking about that.
Yeah.
And talking about it. But yeah. Yeah. I have a couple questions before we leave. Because I didn't ask them when I was supposed to ask them.
Okay.
And that's because I'm doing a freeform kind of thing, which I think went well.
No, it's
great.
But
first of all, who's your favorite character? I don't know if you even have an answer to this, but who's your favorite character? And if you can't narrow it down to one, which is fine, give me your thought process.
Yeah. I think this show is full of really good characters. I really think, like, Kamina is really high up there, but I do think I'm going to have to go with Nia. I really like
awesome.
Nia.
I love that answer.
And again, like, she's not in it a lot for the second half, but, you know, she's got some great moments at the very end. At the very, very end.
Yeah.
And, she's cool. I like Nia a lot. And, like, I'm a much more careful, calm kind of person.
Sure.
So Kamina is great, and that's awesome. Yeah. But Nia's role is maybe a bit more relatable to what I can handle. So her kind of careful, reasonable kind of demeanor is cool to see work in tandem in the show. So I like Nia a lot.
That's great. I love that answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's more common than I actually think, but I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I really don't know. I don't hear that a lot. Mine is the most common ever. It's common.
it's arguably the correct answer, I think.
Yeah. And you know what about, like, I think this time it really stood out to me that I think I'm more similar with him than I ever thought. And one of the things that stood out to me was that dream sequence. Yeah. Where there's the groveling Kamina and the one that's standing up in his, like, with his cape on and the sword and everything. And I was like, I don't know. I just stood there and I was like, I've been both. I've been both of those at different times, and I just related with him. I related with him. Yeah. He's even more my favorite character, I think, now, because this time I kind of like felt like some kind of connection there that I hadn't before. So that was cool.
And I'm thinking of, like, which one do you want to be real? Right? Yeah. That's
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was a moving moment.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it was really good. And the second question that, again, I was supposed to ask you before now is, do you have a favorite, like, moment? Like a favorite scene or, like, event that happens?
It's really hard. Because, this show is...
I can go first if you want me to.
Yeah, do it.
My favorite is episode 10, and it's the moment where he pops at, like, Kid Simone, like, regains his, like, vigor to fight. And pops out of the top and gives the speech of I'm not my bro,
right?
But I'm gonna do this. Like he comes back like that because it's like, to me, that is the most encouraging moment,
right, in
the show for me.
Yeah,
because that's like this. He did it. Like, he's finally broke, and from that point on, Simone is in an upward trajectory.
Right.
We move up and we get better the whole time, and I think that's like the breaking point of that is really cool to me. And even before that I love that whole episode, but like even like leading up to it, where like he's sitting there drilling with his little core drill, and when everyone else is giving up, and like they're all like watching him as he like slowly gets through and digs all the way through. I love that episode. I love that moment where he comes back and he's here again.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really cool. But that's my favorite.
Sure. I think we talked about it already, but the moment where right before Kamina dies, where he goes up and punches Simone and gives him one last kind of pep talk.
Yeah,
I think that's just the animation of it. The kind of the resolution of their relationship and the themes that have been going through. it's just such a cool scene.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And it really does kind of go out of nowhere in a really chaotic episode where you're like, this is going really badly. What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
And Kamina is like, nope, I got to put an end to this. Here I come, grit those teeth.
Right.
Just decks him. And I think there's a lot of good moments in that show. That one always stands out to me.
That's great. That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we end here,
Yeah.
do you have anything else to say? Any other thoughts?
Anything else? I'm really impressed that it's just 27 episodes and they didn't keep it going.
Yeah.
It's such a tight, efficient package, again, with very little filler.
Yeah.
And
Also,
it does not overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one episode in the very middle,
Yeah.
right before the time skip, and right after they beat Lord Genome, that is entirely old clips of the show.
Yes, I skipped that one.
I don't blame you. I don't know why I watched it. I just because I know it's coming.
Yeah.
And that's part of this 27 episode little thing.
I suppose that is, isn't it? Yeah. So maybe 26, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's not that big.
That's a very
It's
normal
very
thing for TV to do.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just like, it seems such like a tightly knit,
Yeah.
like packed story.
Right.
That it seems like
Yeah.
for this to come out of nowhere, it seems like almost like, what? It feels like we're wasting some time
Right.
that we really need in store. But obviously it works out fine.
Yeah. It is kind of funny sometimes to see where it spends its time and what it really slows down. Sometimes it's some weird choices, but even like, again, a lot of the filler episodes are still churning that theme and like introducing integral characters and doing really important things. We didn't talk about Gramps. I like Gramps.
Oh, I like Gramps
that's
too.
all. There's nothing else.
That's it. Okay, yeah,
he's just there.
That's all I have.
I forgot he was there.
And
then he just kind of sticks around. It's funny. He's like a beast man, right?
Yeah. He was like designed for like to be Nia's servant or something, and like that's why he's always around.
He's weird, but I like him.
That's
all.
I'm great. I love that he makes the flag.
So
great. That's so great.
It's such a cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Gramps.
Yeah, Gramps is cool. That's what a great note to end on. Gramps is cool.
Gramps is cool.
Love old Coco.
Yeah.
So next month, as I have already said, I'm going to have my friend Nate, this one right here.
I'll be back.
On, unless it's a mysterious new Nate. And we're going to be talking about a different show. It's still a TV show. One, I believe, that was made by 4Kids.
That's true.
Back in the day,
yeah,
right?
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Named Chaotic.
Yes.
So
it's not as tightly knit of a package. But it'll be fun to talk about.
True. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So we'll be back next month and we'll talk about that. But if you have any questions that you want me or Nate to answer about Chaotic, definitely you can email me. You can leave a comment on this video, honestly. Or you can email me at lifeslegendspod@gmail.com. There's no capitals, there's no spaces, there's no punctuation. Just lifeslegendspod@gmail.com.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I would love to answer questions about this show based on a card game that I'm so deep in already.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Life's Legends. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, savor your stories.